Chapter 1408. Sikong-chen's vigilance was very high. Although the other party couldn't detect him from a distance, he would notice her if she got any closer. Therefore, it didn't seem feasible for Lin Xiao to sneak him into the space and kill him. She had to find a way to distract him, or make him angry. Lin Xiao watched as Sikong-chen finished smoking, and walked back to her office. She followed him from a distance, but didn't follow him into the office. The office was only 100 square meters, it was too small. She couldn't use her ability either. At their level, they were very sensitive to the energy around them. Even if it was just a little, they could still feel it. Otherwise, how could Sikong-chen still sense Lin Xiao when she was invisible? Since she wanted to distract him, she could only provoke him. How could she provoke him? Although she couldn't directly touch Sikong-chen, she also couldn't reveal her identity. Then, she would do something. So Lin Xiao thought for a moment, and suddenly turned to leave. She jumped out of the window at the end of the corridor, and slipped into one of the military training bases in Wuxia. The inner region of Wuxia was also very large, at least a few dozen kilometers. But there weren't many people living in the inner region, because most of the areas were used as military or scientific research sites. However, in addition to the different types of military training bases in the inner region, there were also a few military training sites in the outer region that covered an area of 200 kilometers. Lin Xiao turned around and went to one of the military training sites in the inner region. When she arrived, she caught a small soldier who was only level 3. He forced the soldier to tell him the location of the artillery barracks, then asked where the armory was, and finally killed the soldier. She skimmed over to the artillery barracks and found the armory. None of the soldiers who came and went could detect her presence. An hour later, Lin Xiao stood on a telephone pole a few hundred meters away from the military barracks. She looked in the direction of the barracks and pressed the remote control in her hand. Bang bang, bang bang, bang bang bang, bang 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 bang. A series of earth-shattering explosions suddenly rang out. At the same time, the ground also trembled. In the leader's office in the inner region's administrative building, Sikong-chen and the others looked out the window at the same time. What's going on? Sikong-chen frowned as he stared at the direction of the sound. Wei Haichao put down the document in his hand and stood up. He walked toward the window and leaned his upper body out to look around. This noise, it's so loud. Did the armory explode? This was because the explosions outside hadn't stopped yet, and they were still going on. In this direction, Wei Haichao stared outside for a while, then suddenly turned around and said to Sikong-chen, "It's coming from the internal military." As he spoke, Sikong-chen had already stood up and strode out the door. His footsteps were obviously a little hurried. By the time Wei Haichao followed him out, Sikong-chen's figure was already nowhere to be seen. He sensed Sikong-chen's aura coming from the inner military region. After Wei Haichao quickly made his way to the military base, he arrived beside Sikong-chen. Sikong-chen's face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with a murderous glint. Then, looking at the situation in front of him, he couldn't help but cover his forehead. Not far in front of them, a series of explosions were still going off, like a cluster of landmines that had all been detonated. Boom, 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 boom. And he and Sikong-chen could only watch from here. There was no way for them to stop. Because the place where the explosions happened was their military's armory, and it was the ammunition depot. The soldiers in the barracks were in a mess. They fled in a panic and quickly carried away those who could still be detonated, and those who could not be taken away in time. At the very least, they should try to salvage what they could. Wei Haichao frowned and turned to glance at Sikong-chen. Sure enough, he saw that Sikong-chen's expression was even more gloomy than before. The murderous glint in Sikong-chen's eyes had already exploded. Sikong-chen gritted his teeth and said, "What the hell is going on? You tell me." He pointed at the person in charge of the military base who had sensed their presence, and quickly ran over to them. "Leader, I don't know what happened, it had just exploded." The person who ran over was a level 6 commander. He said to Sikong-chen in panic and confusion. Sikong-chen stared at him coldly, and did not say a word. The commander shrunk his neck and lowered his head, not daring to look up at him. If you don't know, why don't you hurry and investigate? Also, can you think of a way to stop this explosion? Wei Haichao frowned and asked him. The commander shook his head awkwardly. We've already tried to move away all the ammunition in the second-degree danger zone. But the ones inside. The second-degree danger zone was the second-level danger zone, outside the first-level danger zone. In other words, they could only wait for the ammunition in the first-level danger zone and the explosion zone to explode. The depot had already exploded, and a lot of ammunition had been shaken out and continued to explode. So now they could only watch as all the ammunition exploded. There was no way to salvage it. We're already searching, but the ammunition depot and the surrounding buildings have all been blown up. The surveillance room has also been blown up. So, the speed of the investigation won't be that fast. The commander wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and replied meekly. At this time, Si Kongchen suddenly said gloomily, "Why does this method seem a little familiar?" When Wei Haichao heard this, his eyes flashed. He turned to look at him in confusion. You mean no way? She's here again? Just as the two of them were having doubts, suddenly, there was a loud explosion coming from the direction of the outer area of the base. Si Kongchen and Wei Haichao instantly turned their heads to look. In the end, they heard the sound again. It was the location of another military region. She's even going all out. Si Kongchen furrowed his brows and instantly disappeared from the spot. Wei Haichao was just about to leave when he thought of something. He turned around and said to the commander who was standing at the side with his head bowed, "Control this place and calm the situation down as soon as possible." Yes, yes, yes. At this time, the commander could only nod in response. What else could he do? He could only listen to what the commander said. At this time, the anger in Si Kongchen's heart was gradually rising. The military depot inside hadn't been completely blown up yet, and now there was another explosion here. The intention was too obvious. The other party was obviously stirring up trouble, and it must be that woman who did it again. This method was exactly the same as last time, when the underground research base outside the base was blown up. Other than her, who else had the ability to avoid his detection? Chapter 1409. Just as Si Kongchen's anger was rising from the explosions of the two arsenals, Lin Xiao had already slipped into the third arsenal. She could sense Si Kongchen, but Si Kongchen couldn't sense her presence. So when Si Kongchen went to the east, she would slip to the west, and when he went to the left, she would slip to the right. Boom, boom, boom. The entire Wuxia base was filled with earth-shattering explosions. What's going on? Is our base under attack? The residents in the base raised their heads and looked around in bewilderment, trying to guess what had happened. But from the sounds of the explosions, it seemed that the commotion was not small. Si Kongchen was so angry that he was about to explode as the military's ammunition depots were bombed one after another. Because he couldn't catch the culprit, the other party had no intention of stopping. Against a rank 8 metahuman, who was also invisible, no matter how many troops he sent out, they wouldn't be able to stop her. Even he couldn't find the other party, let alone these metahumans who weren't even rank 8. Is she trying to blow up all our military bases? Wei Haichao frowned and asked Si Kongchen worriedly. Outrageous. What is she trying to do by doing this? Is she trying to stop me from attacking Haiching? 70% of the weapons in the arsenal had been blown up. It was a heavy loss. The veins on Si Kongchen's forehead were already bulging. He gritted his teeth and glared at the thick smoke around him. Wei Haichao. It's possible. Si Kongchen suddenly revealed a sinister expression, coupled with the veins on his forehead. His entire face looked somewhat sinister. Does she think that I will stop after doing this? Then what do you want to do? Wei Haichao looked at him in confusion. Si Kongchen had just opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, a figure suddenly appeared beside him. Han Xiao also had an ugly expression as he said to Si Kongchen, "The plantation base has also been destroyed." Si Kongchen. Han Xiao then continued, "The weapons that we secretly stored to deal with the underground beasts have all been stolen." Si Kongchen. Wei Haichao. He couldn't describe this kind of thing that made him want to vomit blood. Bang fuck. This damned woman. After a moment of silence, Si Kongchen suddenly turned around and kicked the wall beside him. At this moment, Lin Xiao and Elmar were smiling as they landed 200 meters behind Xikongchen. They were watching Xikongchen's reaction from afar. He's going to explode from anger. Not only did you blow up their firearms, but you also destroyed their soilless plantation and stole their weapons. Unfortunately, Xikongchen can't do anything to you. He can't even find your existence. Elmar rejoiced in Xikongchen's misfortune, while ridiculing Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao said, "TSK, who told him to provoke me first? If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Do you know? Since he dared to attack us first, then he should be prepared for our retaliation. Making him vomit blood now is just a light punishment. In a while, I will make him disappear from this world." It was about time to make a move. Lin Xiao turned around and said, "Go out and wait outside. Everything is fine here. I'll handle the rest." "Oh." Elmar turned her head and saw her turn around. She responded and saw Lin Xiao disappear in a flash. On the other side, Xikongchen ruthlessly kicked the wall beside him. He clenched his teeth and said, "I must find her." "Yo, are you looking for me?" At this moment, a woman's voice suddenly came from behind him. Xikongchen and the others suddenly turned around and saw a woman in a black military uniform floating in the air. Her long hair was flying behind her, and she had her hands on her hips. She was looking down at them with a mocking smile on her beautiful face. Lin Xiao waved her hand, and a layer of black fire appeared under her feet. She looked at the people below and said, "How is it? Do you like the third surprise I've given you?" Blowing up his underground research base was the first surprise. Getting his complete plan, and completely stopping his plan was the second surprise. Therefore, these were the three of them. Fei Chang Shi Huan. Xikongchen stared at her fiercely. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent, and his hands involuntarily clenched into fists. "Oh, then no need to thank me," Lin Xiao replied with a faint smile. The two of them were already mortal enemies. At this time, Xikongchen naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to ask Lin Xiao's intentions and motives. He was very surprised that Lin Xiao would appear on her own. "Very good. Since you came out on your own, in that case, I'll still properly thank you." He stared closely at Lin Xiao. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly swung his hand and threw a high-temperature fireball at Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao dodged to the side and avoided his fireball. She smiled at him and said, "Oh, you really don't need this kind of thanks. Don't worry, the surprise hasn't ended yet." As she said that, she waved her hand, and a large amount of black fire surged out. It directly covered half of the sky and instantly darkened a large area below. Seeing Lin Xiao's black flames growing bigger and bigger in the sky, the people on the ground all fled in panic. They were afraid that with a wave of Lin Xiao's hand, the black fire would cover their heads and the ground. They didn't forget the use of this female leader's ability. Seeing Lin Xiao waving such a large amount of black fire in the sky, Xikongchen reacted quickly and released a large amount of high-temperature flames with both of his hands. But although it was the same fire, one side was cold while the other was hot. Lin Xiao's fire had no temperature, but Xikongchen's was super hot. When it was released into the sky turned black, and the two colors mixed together. It looked very spectacular, but it was also very dangerous. They couldn't get close, and could only watch from afar. With Xikongchen's red flames suppressing Lin Xiao's black fire, Xikongchen also leaped into the air. He released the energy of his ability with both of his hands, trying to suppress Lin Xiao's black fire. But soon, he found that it was very difficult for him. His ability couldn't even shake Lin Xiao's ability. His high-temperature flames couldn't even melt Lin Xiao's black fire. Instead, Lin Xiao's black fire was devouring the energy in his ability. He immediately realized that this woman wasn't easy to deal with, especially since her ability seemed to be able to restrain his. Although they were both fire attribute, her black fire would devour the energy in his flames. Also, didn't this woman just advance to level 8 not long ago? How could it suppress the energy of his level? His level was higher than this woman's, so his energy was naturally more solid. But under the devouring effect of the other party, it was like a fleeting cloud. After all, even if his ability's energy was more solid than this woman's, It couldn't withstand her ability that could devour his energy. Chapter 14:10. The two level 8 ability users stood tens of meters apart and began to fight in the sky. At the same time, the two of them were also bickering. I see that you don't plan to go back. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find you. I didn't expect you to come knocking on my door. While controlling his ability to resist Lin Xiao's black flames, Xikong Chen stared at Lin Xiao and said loudly. Lin Xiao calmly said to him, "Oh, do you think you can make me stay? But it doesn't matter. I don't plan to leave so soon." Xikong Chen's expression almost vomited blood because of her words. He gritted his teeth and said to her, "What else do you want?" He had gritted his teeth so hard today that he almost exploded from anger. But now that they were facing each other, he realized that the other party was not so easy to deal with. Only then did his rationality gradually suppress his impulses. Now that he heard Lin Xiao's words, he knew that this woman must have a backup plan. I want you and the whole of Wuxia to know that Wuxia base is not the overlord of this era. You don't have the qualifications and strength. Lin Xiao suddenly changed her expression and coldly mocked him. After saying that, she suddenly waved her hand and shot a few black fire snakes in Xikong Chen's direction. Then she instantly disappeared from where she stood and flashed to the side of Xikong Chen. Lin Xiao's fire snakes were very fast and were in front of Xikong Chen in the blink of an eye. Xikong Chen quickly dodged to the side and dodged the black fire snakes. Just as he dodged to the side, he suddenly dodged again and bounced away from where he stood. This was because he felt a sense of danger coming from behind him and subconsciously dodged. Lin Xiao, who had missed, revealed herself and looked in the direction Xikong Chen had dodged to with some disappointment. She frowned slightly and felt that Xikong Chen's strength was somewhat abnormal. This was also what she felt was wrong from the beginning. They were both level 8 ability users, but Xikong Chen could actually sense her existence when she was invisible. Even Wu Qingyue might not be able to do this after she entered the level 8 stage. However, this man could sense it. This did not make sense. If it wasn't for the fact that Xikong Chen had a second agility ability, then he wasn't just an ordinary level 8 ability on the surface. It was possible that he was already at the peak of level 8 and was about to enter level 9. Perhaps he had already entered the 9th level. Was he just hiding his strength? Or had he already used the medicine to increase his strength? After a round of direct confrontation, Lin Xiao suddenly felt that this Xikong Chen was somewhat troublesome. It seemed like he wasn't as simple as everyone thought. Lin Xiao stopped and turned to look at Xikong Chen. Roar! As soon as she turned around, a huge purplish-red fire lion pounced at her with bared fangs and brandished claws. The fire energy on the fire lion's body was extremely condensed, so its teeth, claws, and even its tail could hide a huge amount of attack power. Lin Xiao raised his hand and threw a black fireball into the fire lion's mouth. At the same time, her body flashed backwards, avoiding the spot. Whoosh! The purplish-red fire lion pounced on her previous position, its 4 paws standing in the air. He bit the black fireball that Lin Xiao had thrown and spat it out with a shake of his head. It actually didn't swallow it directly. Of course it was controlled by Xikong Chen. Do you think you can still leave? Too naive. At this time, Xikong Chen suddenly appeared in front of Lin Xiao and said to her with a ferocious expression. Following that, the aura around his body suddenly began to soar, and his aura directly broke through the standard of level 8. In an instant, it rose to the 9th level, and his entire aura gradually began to become violent. At this moment, Xikong Chen's energy aura changed. He suddenly went from an 8th level ability user to a 9th level ability user. The 9th level aura on his body was so strong that Lin Xiao felt a little suppressed. She reacted quickly and retreated a few hundred meters away in a flash. Now you want to run? Do you think you can still run? Xikong Chen's expression at this time was even more ferocious than before. He stared at Lin Xiao fiercely, like an angry lion. He was just short of baring his teeth and brandishing his claws at Lin Xiao. After saying that, he immediately chased after Lin Xiao. At the same time, he waved his hand and several huge fire beasts appeared in the sky. Then, they pounced on the black flames that Lin Xiao had waved before. and a series of random tearing sounds rang out. In just a few seconds, these magenta fire beasts tore Lin Xiao's black flames apart. That's right, they tore it apart. Originally, Lin Xiao was controlling the black flames in the sky like a dark cloud. But now, after being messed around by a few fire beasts, it was torn apart like a rag being bitten by a man. Because Lin Xiao's control was suppressed by the opponent's sudden counterattack, she suffered a backlash, and her head swelled with pain. She quickly cut off the control of those special abilities, and then quickly dodged to the side again, because there was a fire snake that had appeared out of nowhere, and it was sticking out its thin red tongue at her. A pair of sharp fiery eyes flashed with a cold expression. He stared at her closely, as if he was staring at his prey. Lin Xiao dodged to the side, and pulled a safe distance away from Xikongchen. Seeing that the opponent did not chase after her, she frowned and asked him. She then frowned and asked him, "Looks like you've had a hard time hiding. Just because you are a level 9 special ability user, you want to control all the human bases? The weak submit to the strong. This is the law of nature. What's wrong with that?" Xikongchen grinned at her, and then said very naturally. Lin Xiao said, "Since you said that, then will China submit to someone stronger than you?" Xikongchen did not answer immediately. After 2 seconds he said disdainfully, "Then can you find someone stronger than me? Wu Qingyue? Even if he is a lightning type, he is still no match for me." "Of course there is someone stronger than you. It's in that space underground. Why don't you go down and deal with it? Don't forget that it's your masterpiece." Lin Xiao reminded him coldly. "There's still a level 9 subterranean exotic beast waiting for you down there." "Humph, do you think I'll go deal with it just because you said so? Don't look down on me. Besides, it wasn't us who did it, and the criminal was also killed by you. That Professor Bai." Xikongchen was indifferent to her words. Saying that, his figure flashed, and when Xikongchen moved, Lin Xiao suddenly felt a chill on her back. Her body reflexively bounced to the side and shot out. When she turned back, she saw that Xikongchen was standing at her previous position. When she turned her head again, it turned out that Xikongchen had also disappeared. Chapter 14:11. Xikongchen's speed was so fast that Lin Xiao couldn't even catch a glimpse of him. She had to rely on her instincts to dodge. Fortunately, the other's scent was still there. Otherwise, Lin Xiao wouldn't know how to clearly see the other's position. Because Xikongchen's scent had already disappeared from her senses, she couldn't sense the other's presence at all. After confirming that Xikongchen had the strength of a rank 9 metahuman, Lin Xiao knew that her mission had ended in failure. Even if she exposed her zombie identity, she still wouldn't be able to defeat the other. Not to mention that she couldn't reveal her identity right now. Just by using her ability, her hands and feet were bound, and she could only use half of her strength. After confirming that she couldn't defeat Xikongchen, Lin Xiao didn't say anything more to him. After dodging that attack, she immediately entered the space. After arriving at the small building, Lin Xiao frowned as she sat on the sofa. She didn't expect that not only would she not be able to take Xikongchen's life, but she also tore off his disguise. He already possessed the strength of a rank 9 metahuman, but she didn't know if he had already advanced to rank 9 normally, or if he had used a special method to temporarily advance himself. In any case, the current Xikongchen wasn't someone that she or Xikongchen and the others could deal with. And now that Xikongchen had displayed his rank 9 strength in front of so many people, it was obvious that he didn't plan to hide it. She believed that she didn't need to send this news back. The others would soon receive it. Lin Xiao sat on the sofa with her hands crossed in front of her chest. She was thinking about how to deal with Xikongchen's situation. Previously, she felt that Xikongchen's recent performance was very ostentatious, and there was a problem with it. But now that she knew, she didn't have a clue how to deal with him. The main reason was because of Xikongchen's current indifferent attitude. He was powerful, so he didn't care about anything else. She didn't know why he had to think of so many troublesome schemes before. With his rank 9 strength, he could do anything he wanted. Moreover, he was very tolerant. Previously, she had blown up his underground research base, stolen the contents of his plans, and even cut off his plans. Now she had blown up all the important weapons in his base. Chen probably hated her to death. Therefore, when he attacked next, he would definitely destroy her base personally to dispel the anger and hatred in his heart. When Lu Tianyi came in, he saw Lin Xiao sitting on the sofa motionlessly, frowning and thinking, "What's the situation?" Seeing Lin Xiao's expression, he knew that she had encountered a problem. "I just blew up a few arsenals in Wuxia." Lin Xiao turned to look at him and replied. Lu Tianyi froze for a moment and looked at her. "Ah, really?" Lin Xiao nodded. "But you don't look very happy? Shouldn't he be happy after blowing up a few enemy arsenals?" Chen was probably going to vomit blood again. Lu Tianyi looked at her in confusion. "There's one more thing. Chen just displayed his rank 9 ability user strength. Even if I use all my strength, I won't be able to defeat him," Lin Xiao said with a frown. "How is that possible?" Lu Tianyi's face changed as he looked at her in surprise. If that was the case, then she didn't expect that Chen, who was already ranked 9, would anger him. But if he wanted to take revenge, who could withstand it? Regardless of whether provoking Chen was the right decision, even if she didn't come now, Chen would soon send troops to attack Haicheng. If she only knew Chen's true strength at that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Knowing Chen's strength in advance was also a good thing. The problem was that Lin Xiao had angered him. That was a big problem. No wonder he was so confident in dealing with all the bases. So it's because he's the strongest? At this time, Lu Tianyi's expression was synchronized with Lin Xiao's. Their expressions were inexplicably identical. They both frowned and looked like they were in deep thought. Lin Xiao nodded. "Not only that, but he also relies on his advanced weapons and medicine. He thinks that we can't fight against those." Lu Tianyi thought for a moment and asked her, "Then why did you run in here? Did he chase you in?" Lin Xiao shrugged. "Yeah, I can't beat him. What else can I do other than run? He's ranked 9 now, and his speed and power have instantly increased by several levels. He's completely stronger than me, and I can't even outrun him. I can only hide in here for now. Fortunately, he can't sense me in here." Lu Tianyi. "If not for this space, let's see how you're going to clean up." Lin Xiao. This was a bit of a miscalculation. In the outside world, Chen stood in midair. He looked around, but couldn't find any trace of Lin Xiao. With a face full of anger, he waved his hand, and a large wave of purple flames was sent out. However, he waved it towards the sky. Clearly, he didn't forget that he was in his base. That was why he waved his power towards the sky to vent his pent-up anger at Lin Xiao escaping. Although he had already guessed that this woman would hide in her space, the feeling of letting his prey escape was really infuriating. Wei Haichao looked at Chen in surprise after he cleared the black fire in the sky. "Your ability is already at the 9th level," he said. "You're already at the 9th level? When did this happen?" Chen's face was still angry. After hearing Wei Haichao's question, he just said coldly, "Do I need to report to you when I advance?" Wei Haichao was shocked by his imposing manner. He was stunned for a moment before shaking his head. "Oh, of course not. Then stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and clean up the mess that woman made." Chen glared at him, and then disappeared in a flash. Although he disappeared, he didn't go far away. He just found a place to hide his traces. This was because he still had to wait for that woman to come out of the space. Even if she could become invisible, she wouldn't be able to hide from his detection this time. With his rank 9 ability, as long as he carefully looked around, he would be able to detect anyone below rank 9. Whether it was a metahuman, a zombie, or a beast, as long as there was energy in their body, he would be able to detect them. At this time, other than Lin Xiao who was in the space, Elmar, who had been sent out of China by Lin Xiao, immediately had a bad feeling when she sensed the energy fluctuations of the battle between Chen and Lin Xiao. After feeling that something was wrong, she subconsciously retreated a little further. Although she knew that Lin Xiao was a smart person and wouldn't be in any danger, she couldn't help but be a little worried. Chapter 14:12. Elmar felt that Lin Xiao might not be back so soon this time, because she could sense that Chen was waiting there. So after thinking about it, she decided to bring the news back first. At the same time, she told Kong Qingming about it and asked him to bring the situation back to Ocean City. It did not take long for the Universal Base and Oceanic City to receive urgent information regarding Xikong Chen's rank 9 ability. Wu Qingyue also found out that Lin Xiao had gone to China alone to find trouble with Xikong Chen and was now trapped there. She even blew up Xikong Chen's armory. No wonder Xikong Chen is about to explode. He's not even hiding his rank 9 ability anymore. Wu Qingyue looked at Kong Qingming, who came over to report the news with a speechless expression. Kong Qingming nodded and asked, "Why don't you look surprised at all?" Wu Qingyue frowned and replied, "I was just suspecting it before, but I wasn't sure." Now she had made the answer known to everyone. Didn't she ever think about this problem? He didn't understand Lin Xiao's intention in the last sentence, but he felt that Lin Xiao had the same idea. From Xikong Chen's way of doing things for the past 6 months, it had already revealed that he had a very powerful trump card. He was so powerful that he didn't need to care about the opinions of all the humans in the major bases. That was why he started to openly deal with Ocean City and Universal Base. So thinking about the current situation, if Xikong Chen hadn't developed some incredible weapon that could destroy the world, then he must have had a big breakthrough in his own strength to dare to do this. Otherwise, with his cunning personality, how could he do something so ostentatious? What do we do now? Kong Qingming looked at him and asked seriously, "Brother, your wife is still there and can't come out. Aren't you going to think of a way to save her? Why do you look so calm? What's going on?" "Don't worry. Even if Xikong Chen reveals his rank 9 ability, he won't immediately rush over to attack us. Didn't you say he's still waiting for the underground creatures to finish their advancement? Maybe he'll only make a move then." Wu Qingyue thought about it and said, "However, how to deal with Xikong Chen, a rank 9 arcanist, was a difficult problem." Kong Qingming looked at him speechlessly. "I'm asking you, aren't you going to think of a way to save the leader of all living beings? Who asked you how you dealt with Xikong Chen? You don't need me to save you, right? Wasn't she in hiding? Don't worry, she can handle this kind of thing. Don't forget, this isn't the first time she's faced a level 9. Even if she can't come out, she won't be in danger for the time being." Wu Qingyue looked at him strangely before analyzing. Kong Qingming sighed. "Sigh, I think you're about to lose a wife. I don't know why this boss is so confident in Sister Lu, but since you want her to spend the rest of her life with you, you should at least show that you're worried about her. Even if you knew that the other party could handle it, if you didn't express it, how could the other party feel your heart?" No wonder they hadn't made much progress, even after giving birth to the child. It was hopeless. After cursing his boss in his heart, Kong Qingming could only change the topic. "Do you have a way to deal with Xikong Chen? He was a level 9 arcanist, and there was nothing on their side that could resist his attacks." Wu Qingyue said, "Well, we don't have such a strong person on our side for the time being, but we can borrow someone from Lan Lu." Kong Qingming's mind flashed. "Huh, you mean their mysterious leader, who has reached level 9 a long time ago? But isn't he unconscious?" Wu Qingyue shook his head. "No, he woke up a long time ago. Moreover, he didn't lose any strength, and it's still the same formula. It's just that Lan Lu used a smokescreen to make others think that he's still unconscious." Kong Qingming was a little happy. "So that's how it is. Then with him, we really don't have to worry about Xikong Chen. But Xikong Chen is a long-range attacker, and I heard that this leader of Qingshan is a close-range attacker? That means it can only be effective in close-range combat. I didn't say that he's going to defeat Xikong Chen. He's just going to help resist Xikong Chen's attacks," Wu Qingyue said to him. Kong Qingming was puzzled. "How? Don't tell me he has a skill like a protective shield?" As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Qingyue smiled and clapped his hands. "Sai, you're right. The energy of a rank 9 ability user has already reached the pinnacle. They can control the energy around them at will, and they can also control the energy in their bodies to form an energy shield. Of course, this can't be used to attack. It can only be used as a protective shield." Kong Qingming. He didn't expect there to really be such a thing. "But, you know this too?" Wu Qingyue nodded. "Lan Lu told me this. He used this information to exchange with me for a batch of supplies. Then after this incident, they planned to move to another base. I'll give you a letter now. You take a helicopter to the northwest to find Lan Lu and borrow his leader. Let's use Sea City to agree to 3 conditions as an exchange. In the future, we can help him 3 times. Actually, I've already talked to him about this before. He should be able to get his leader to help us with this. Si Gongchen thought about it, picked up a pen, and wrote a note and a simple contract. After signing it, he put it in an envelope and handed it to Kong Qingming. No wonder you're still so calm. You're not in a hurry at all. Kong Qingming took the letter and suddenly said. When he turned to walk out, he suddenly turned back to look at him. Are you really not worried about that Lu zombie? Big sister Lu? Wu Qingyue confidently said. Don't worry, I believe her IQ isn't that bad. The woman he liked, of course, wouldn't have a low IQ. Although Sikong Chen was indeed a level 9, Lin Xiao wasn't weak either. She also had a special space as a golden finger. If that was the case, she could still be killed. It might be an accident, but he knew that female zombie. She wouldn't let an accident happen. She would definitely be prepared. And now that she was hiding in the space, Sikong Chen couldn't do anything to her space. Even if Sikong Chen guarded her, he wouldn't be able to wait for long, unless he didn't plan on invading Sea City. However, this was considered to have bought some time for Sea City base and Sentient base. So now it would depend on who was more patient. One guarded, the other waited. Chapter 14:13. Wu Qingyue could be so calm about Lin Xiao's current situation, because he understood and believed in Lin Xiao's ability. He felt that Lin Xiao wouldn't be killed so easily in this situation. It wasn't that he didn't want to help Lin Xiao, but that she didn't need his help right now. After so many previous experiences, Lin Xiao's strong self-esteem wouldn't want him to help her now. That would only make her feel that he was being nosy. So, there was nothing to worry about. But when he thought of Sikong Chen seeing the armory she blew up, Wu Qingyue couldn't help but sympathize with him. And then he gloated. In a battle like this, there was nothing worse than the destruction of one's own military supplies and fodder. After knowing that Sikong Chen was guarding Lin Xiao outside her space, everyone in Universal Base didn't seem very worried. Because since Sikong Chen couldn't sense Lin Xiao's space, it meant that Lin Xiao was safe. As for how their leader would come out, there was nothing they could do even if they were worried. Because according to Elmar's reaction, with Sikong Chen's current strength, even if Lin Xiao was invisible, there was a possibility that she would be discovered. Unless there was something that could lure Sikong Chen away. But Lin Xiao bought some time for everyone to think of a way to deal with the level 9 Arcanist. But other than another level 9 Arcanist, who else could fight against Sikong Chen? Didn't you say that Qingshan Base also has a level 9 Arcanist? Can he help? Lin Feng sat in the conference room and looked at everyone present. After listening to Lin Xiao, Yuan Tianqing looked at him. Isn't he still unconscious? Lin Feng shook his head. Lan Lu sent a message some time ago. Their level 9 leader has woken up. And his strength hasn't been damaged, he still has his original strength. And in order to thank us for helping them, Lan Lu said that if we need any help, we can let them know. I guess Lan Lu has probably guessed Sikong Chen's hidden strength. Everyone looked at him in surprise. And then they all revealed a look of understanding. Does this mean that they are willing to help? Qiu Lily looked at everyone's faces and asked curiously. After Lin Xiao left, she and Lin Kuei led the team back to the base. Lin Kuei nodded at her from the side. Then, since there's a beast tide coming, what do we do? Alright, since Sikong Chen had someone to handle it. Now, the only problem they had to deal with was the beast swarm after the subterranean exotic beast's advancement. After Elmar asked, she looked at everyone. Actually, over the past 2 days, they had started noticing traces of high-level subterranean beast activity in the vicinity of the base. Those exotic beasts were here to scout the way and take the lead. Obviously, their advancement event was about to end. Not only that, the exotic beasts that had advanced seemed to be starving, hunting crazily everywhere. This was indeed the same situation as what Sikong Chen knew. These exotic beasts would feel extremely hungry after advancing. However, those subterranean exotic beasts wouldn't stray too far away from the place where they were advancing. They would only be active within a few kilometers. As long as those high-level exotic beasts let out a roar, they would quickly charge back. Now, looking at the traces that were gradually appearing around the human base, it seemed like they were waiting for the end of the promotion process before having a grand feast. To them, the human base was like a breeding farm. Soon, these ferocious and terrifying monsters would descend on the periphery of their base and begin hunting them. Although the catnip that Wenwen brought back and the black fruits that the leader brought back have been made into powder and scattered outside the base, I'm not sure how long it will last. Speaking of this problem, Lin Feng's face was also full of worry. After all, there weren't many catnip and black fruits to begin with. New ones were still being planted, so they couldn't be used. Therefore, the powder that was developed now wasn't enough to surround the entire base. There would be empty spaces in the middle. They were only using the subterranean exotic beast's habit of rejecting these two kinds of plants to be of some use. Fortunately, although these subterranean exotic beasts were extremely hungry, they weren't to the extent of going crazy. At least, they wouldn't rush in recklessly. For example, the subterranean exotic beasts that appeared recently didn't go near the powder's range. Perhaps it was effective for the time being, but it was only temporary, because there was no guarantee that they wouldn't rush over after all of them advanced. By then, a large number of subterranean exotic beasts would also require a large amount of food. Coincidentally, humans lived in groups, so the number of survivors in the human base would be enough for them to eat their fill. This was a huge temptation. Therefore, even if these subterranean creatures killed each other, only 1/5 of them would advance. However, there were already 7 or 8 colonies surrounding the human base, and there would be at least tens of thousands of them in a circle. To the human base, it would be a disaster. At this time, their leader was trapped in Wuxia and couldn't come back. I have an idea. At this moment, Lin Wenwen, who had been sitting silently behind Yuan Tianxing, suddenly spoke up. Everyone turned to look at her. At the same time they asked, "What idea?" Lin Wenwen stood up and walked left and right slowly. As she walked, she said, "Since these subterranean creatures are only hungry, their food isn't just us. Don't forget that humans aren't the only ones in our base. Since they want to eat, let them eat until they're full. When they're full, it'll be none of our business." With her reminder, everyone suddenly came to a realization. That's right. They also eat zombies. We'll gather the wild zombies and let them eat outside the base. When they're full, there'll be nothing left for us to do. Elmar clapped her hands and said excitedly. Previously, they were all focused on how to use force or methods to fight against these subterranean creatures. Their thinking was slightly off track. Therefore, they were under pressure and couldn't think in a different direction. Then hurry up. If you want to feed them, you'll need to gather a lot of zombies. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief and said to the people in charge of the second base across the table. Elmar and the others nodded at the same time. No problem. We'll take action immediately. Oh right. Count me in too? At this moment, a ruffian's voice came from the corner. Everyone turned their heads and saw a handsome man leaning against a corner in an improper posture. Mo Yen? When did you come in here? Qiu Lily saw him and immediately glared at him. This is the meeting room. We're having a meeting. How can you come in so casually? Hey Lily, you still look like you hate me. Also, who said that I can't come in? Your door didn't say that I can't come in. Besides, I've already come in. But I don't see any of you kicking me out. Mo Yen laughed wantonly before teasing Qiu Lily. Chapter 14:14. Everyone didn't want to talk to Mo Yan's nonsense. But seeing that he was willing to help, they didn't want to say anything. So they still didn't want to talk to him. Qiu Lily turned her face and flicked the back of his head. Because you gave me a bad first impression. Mo Yan's expression was indifferent, and he even seemed to be a little proud as he spread his hands. I was just being friendly to you. Is that bad? All right, you can shut up now. Don't forget that you wanted to attack our base at that time. Elmar glared at him angrily. Mo Yen tilted his head and didn't say anything. All right, we have 4 level 2 kings here. Please go to the 4 gates and summon the wild zombies back before the underground creatures finish their evolution. Lin Feng saw that the time was right and immediately requested. Elmar and the others stood up at the same time. Elmar, I'll go to the south gate. Qiu Lily, I'll go to the north. Lin Kuei, west. Emoyin smiled. Oh, then leave the east to me. After saying that, they turned around and left, heading for the top of the building. After reaching the rooftop, the 4 of them disappeared towards the 4 gates. There weren't any wild zombies around the base. They had to go at least 10 kilometers away to encounter wild zombies. So, to summon a zombie tide, they had to go a little further. So, when Haiqing received the news of the base's operation, the zombies around the base had already gathered from afar. Ha! Are they trying to use these zombies as food? He thought. Doesn't this count as fighting poison with poison? Xiao Liqing asked with a surprised and curious expression. Whether it was the zombies or the underground creatures, they were both natural enemies to humans. So the situation of them hurting each other and fighting poison with poison seemed to be pretty good. Humans could still sit back and reap the benefits. Kong Qingming nodded. I think so. After all, there are more than 1 billion zombies in our country. It was more than enough to serve as food for the subterranean exotic beasts. At least we have a few years to think of a way to deal with these underground creatures. Wu Qingyue smiled. I suddenly realized that the zombie army in the base is very useful. Should we borrow a few more second-rank kings from them? Even a first-grade monarch is fine. Why do I feel like we've been taking advantage of the universal base recently? The food was all provided by them. And the catnip weapons were also the main materials provided by them. Rescuing Li Yuehe was also borrowed from them. Yep, although it didn't seem to be of much use. So let's skip over it. Now we have to borrow people from other people. We have so many people in the base, why don't we do anything? Xiao Yunlong couldn't help but ridicule. Everyone. Thinking about it, that seemed to be the case. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. We can't help you now. But that doesn't mean we won't be able to help you in the future. Wu Qingyue quickly turned the page. Then he continued with a smile. Both of us are in the same boat. At least in terms of scientific research, we can also provide some help to the base. Just when everyone in the outside world was shocked by the revelation of Xikong Chen's level 9 ability, inside the space, Lin Xiao was quietly probing for the aura outside. Although Xikong Chen was hiding, even if Lin Xiao couldn't get out of the space. But she still sensed Xikong Chen's faint aura around her. So she was sure that Xikong Chen was still guarding her. She couldn't get out for the time being. So, since she had nothing to do in the space, she went to the farm field to take a stroll. Lu Tianyi, Xiao Xiao, Pesticide, and a group of dozens of level 3, level 4 and level 5 zombies were working hard to plant catnip in the field. When Lin Xiao walked over, she saw Pesticide catching insects to eat. I say, why do you have a special liking for these green insects? She looked at him speechlessly and asked. Pesticide looked up at her, then silently turned his head and walked away. Lin Xiao, can't you give me some face? Lu Tianyi came over and said, I don't know how this guy's brain works, but it's not the same as normal people. Lin Xiao could only turn her head to look at the catnip in the field, which was the first batch to be planted. Because of the special nature of Lin Xiao's space, the catnip had already grown a little. It was green and full of vitality. And it was very clean. You said that you can't get out now. But what about the base? Lu Tianyi stood beside her and asked curiously. What do you mean? Lin Xiao looked back at him. The problem with those underground creatures hasn't been solved, right? And I heard that those things are very intelligent. What if they find the human base? Lu Tianyi was still worried about the problem the base was facing. Lin Xiao said, Don't worry, Lin Feng and the others are here. They will think of a way. And there's also Wenwen. Her ability should give us some hints at this time. She felt that Lin Wenwen was like a mascot, able to predict the future. If she didn't see the situation of the base being destroyed, then there wouldn't be any problems with the base. And Lin Wenwen also said that she saw the situation where she attacked her own base. Therefore she herself was the key. For some reason, staying here felt quite good. Even if there was an accident, It would be the enemy camp that was harmed. Lu Tianyi looked at her and said, "You really believe in their abilities?" Lin Xiao smiled at him and said, "Of course, other than myself, who else can I trust other than them?" After all, this group of people had never disappointed her, and the people who disappointed her no longer existed. Lu Tianyi was speechless. Poor old Wu, he wasn't included. But will Sikong Chen delay the attack on Ocean City and the base in order to keep an eye on you? After Lu Tianyi sympathized with Wu Qingyue, he suddenly thought of the current situation. Lin Xiao said, "That's even better. As long as he keeps an eye on me, the base will be safe. If he leaves here, I will have to think of a way to deal with him when I get out. Fortunately, there's Dong Xiaowei now. Saving him was a good decision." She already knew that Dong Xiaowei would wake up. After all, her lake water had never lost its effect on these crazy metahumans. Even Wu Qingyue could be saved. There was no reason that Dong Xiaowei couldn't. Anyway, the energy of the lake water wouldn't be divided into levels. The effect was the same. Dong Xiaowei. Lu Tianyi didn't know who this person was. Lin Xiao said, "It's the level 9 leader of Qingshan base." Only then did Lu Tianyi remember that the mysterious level 9 leader of Qingshan base did have this name. Chapter 14-15. But didn't you say that the leader is still unconscious? Why are you saying that he has already woken up? Lu Tianyi was puzzled by Lin Xiao's mention of the rank 9 metahuman she had saved. Lin Xiao walked in the catnip field and replied, "Don't worry, the energy in the lake will not lose its effect." Lu Tianyi subconsciously turned to look at the direction of the lake, and did not say anything. Since Lin Xiao said so, it was pointless for him to ask anything else. Lin Xiao walked in the catnip field, and looked at the vibrant catnip. She sighed in relief. Meanwhile, Sikong Chen, who was in China's base, could not sense Lin Xiao's aura after standing guard for a few days. He did not know if she was still hiding in the space, or had used her invisibility ability to escape his detection. Although he felt that no matter what it was, as long as the other party had mutated energy, he would be able to sense it. But he felt that this woman was special. She might have a way to hide from him. So the longer he stood guard, the more irritated he became. Wei Haichao came over and said, "The underground creatures have finished their advancement. They are now gathering their own kind that have successfully advanced. Moreover, we have not made the medicine to make them go crazy. Although they are very hungry now, they seem to be able to maintain their rationality. Only by making these beasts go berserk would they be able to have a greater effect." Sikong Chen asked, "Is there any movement from Haiqing and Universal Base?" Wei Haichao nodded, "Yes. Over at Universal Life Base, in the past 2 days, a large number of zombies had started to gather around the perimeter of the base. The zombie tide had completely surrounded the entire base. But these zombies have stopped 10 kilometers away from Universal Base. I don't know why they have stopped approaching. It was normal for a zombie tide to appear, just like the one that appeared outside of China a few days ago. But for it to appear like this, and even surround the entire human base, it was very strange. Because when a zombie tide appears, it would usually appear in groups from the left and right, unless there was a very powerful zombie controlling the entire zombie horde. For example, the lightning-type zombie emperor from before. But other than that one zombie emperor, there were no other zombie emperors. Clearly, zombies were not that easy to level up. Could it be that another zombie emperor has appeared? Or could it be that the lightning-type zombie emperor had returned? Or maybe it really was him, but he had gone to the Universal Base to cause trouble. If that was the case, then he would be happy to see it happen. In any case, being surrounded by zombies was not a good thing. Humph, are they going to face a double attack? Deal with the zombies first, then deal with the underground creatures? Sikong Chen laughed coldly. Sikong Chen understood that the underworld creatures had scouted the location of the human base and wanted to attack it. Not only did the Universal Base appear, but it also appeared in China. From his point of view, since these zombies appeared on the outskirts of the human base, they should be able to survive. There was no doubt that they were going to attack the human base. After all, human flesh was as delicious as drugs to zombies. At this moment, in an old zoo southwest of Universal Base, A group of special underground creatures were hiding in the underground cave. From time to time, they could be seen chasing after the mutant rats. It was said that they were special because they were afraid of light. Another reason was that this group of gorillas without eyes didn't participate in the group advancement activities. Ever since they arrived here, they had settled down. This was because they had enough food, and these food liked to move around underground. It was also less troublesome for them to climb out of the ground. There weren't many underground gorillas, but there were tens of millions of mutant rats. Moreover, the reproduction rate of the rats didn't decrease, even though they mutated. Similarly, they had a nest of more than a dozen rats. However, De Zhuang, who had been asleep for a few months, suddenly opened his eyes and roared. His voice spread far and wide in the cave, and immediately reached the ears of the other underground gorillas. Therefore, these children and grandchildren immediately set out to destroy the mice's nest. After De Zhuang roared, he closed his eyes and continued to lie motionlessly. Not long after, a series of squeaking sounds reached its ears from afar. Only then did it open its eyes again and slowly crawled up. Outside his cave, more than a dozen big rats were dragged in. These rats were big, and they were level 5 or 6, which was not low. Because they could also dig holes quickly, the underground gorillas that caught them could only drag their prey in. Otherwise, once they let go, these furry fellows would immediately dig holes and run away. After De Zhuang climbed out of his cave, he walked towards his descendants. Then, with each of his hands, he grabbed the squeaky big rats in their hands, grabbed one of them, and bit its head into his mouth. Cha! Blood splattered as he bit the rat's head. He also grabbed the rat's body and pulled it out. Then, the big rat's head and body were separated. Kacha. De Zhuang chewed the rat's head and swallowed it in a few bites. Then, he put the other rat's head into his mouth and bit it off. Then, he continued to chew and walked out of the cave. He chewed his food in the dark, and his mouth was full of blood. There were 2 decapitated rat corpses in his hands, and a large amount of blood dripped onto the ground. When De Zhuang walked out, his descendants, who were preparing food for him, followed behind him. When he finished eating the food in his hands, they would send it over again. Thus, De Zhuang gradually walked out of the depths of the cave, after eating more than a dozen big rats. He walked to a place not far from the exit, and stretched out his nose to sniff carefully, as if he was trying to distinguish something from the air above ground. 7 to 8 kilometers away from its cave, there was a gathering point for underground creatures to advance. However, there were no more underground creatures killing each other there, but the remains left behind were all over the ground. The air was also filled with the stench of blood, as well as the energy aura that overflowed from the bodies of these underground creatures when they advanced. When these 2 auras were mixed together, De Zhuang knew what was going on. He retracted his nose and forcefully breathed out twice. Then, he shook his head and used his claws to sweep the area below his nose. He looked as if he didn't like the smell. Chapter 14:16. Although De Zhuang had woken up from the cave, he didn't bring his tribe to mingle with the underground creatures that had gathered together. However, he didn't plan to return to the surroundings of the universal base. It was already very difficult for him to promise Lin Xiao not to attack humans, and it was impossible for him to go back to protect humans. At this time, there was a pile of wild zombies 10 kilometers away from the universal base, and there was still a steady stream of zombies coming from the towns in the distance. The underground creatures that had gathered together, after leveling up, all noticed these zombies. For the low-level exotic beasts, these were also food, and they weren't picky about their food. However, for those above level 5, they didn't want to eat these zombies that carried a rotten smell. It wasn't fragrant at all. It wasn't delicious either. They wanted to eat the 2-legged prey that lived in the high-walled buildings. That meat was sweet and delicious. Apart from the universal base, a large number of zombies had also gathered around Haicheng. Wu Qingyue borrowed 2 level 2nd kings from the universal base, and dozens of level 1st kings to help. With these rank 1st kings summoning together, a lot of zombies gathered outside. After all, Haicheng was a highly populated 1st-tier city, with a total population of more than 20 million people. Naturally, there would be a lot of zombies. Say, do you think these subterranean beasts will fly past these zombies and directly charge into the base? Chiu Lily stood on the top of the wall of the base and said worriedly to the outside of the base. Lin Kuei, who was wearing a solemn military uniform, stood straight next to her. Under the brim of the hat, his calm eyes flickered with a cold light. He followed Chiu Lily's gaze and looked outside. Well, if you ignored the fact that he was twirling Chiu Lily's ponytail behind him, he was a very serious man. It's hard to say. Those high-level underground exotic beasts are very intelligent and mature. If these zombies aren't attractive to them, then the possibility is very high. But if there are too many of these low-level exotic beasts, it will be difficult to control their instincts for food. That's because when you're hungry, you don't really care about how delicious your food is. You'll think it's delicious when you have something to eat. Lin Kuei told her that the probability of this happening wasn't high, but it wasn't impossible. These low-level exotic beasts didn't have high requirements for food. They wouldn't care if it tasted good or not. In any case, it was fine as long as they could fill their stomachs. After all, they were already in a state of extreme hunger. Usually they were even willing to eat soil. Only the more advanced ones, because of their higher IQ, could think more and wanted more. That was why they were looking for more choices. At the same time, their determination was also much stronger than the low-level ones. You're only talking about the low-level ones. Are the high-level ones likely to cross the zombies? Chiu Lily immediately understood what he meant. Miss Wenwen, this method can indeed stop most of the underground beasts. It should be quite useful. Lin Kuei nodded and said to her. Chiu Lily nodded. Oh, but there are a lot of high-level creatures. If they come, can we defeat them? They didn't even have a level 8 in this base. The highest was only level 7. On the side of the underground beasts, there were 5 level 8 ones. And this was only the ones surrounding their base. It didn't include all the other bases combined. Thinking about the total number of level 8 metahumans in the 6 human bases in their country, there were only 5 of them. And Lin Xiao was a fake level 8 metahuman. Of course, having 2 level 9 metahumans was also the biggest breakthrough for humans. But this was incomparable to the number of high-level underground beasts. Lin Kuei turned his head and smiled gently at her. It's okay. Wenwen said nothing will happen. She said she didn't see any dangerous scenes. That means our base is still safe. Chiu Lily suddenly remembered Lin Wenwen's special ability. Oh right. Sister Wenwen has the ability to sense danger. Just when the two of them were worried about whether the high-level underground beasts would cross the zombies to attack the base, a few groups of hungry underground beasts surrounded the base from several directions. Every group of subterranean beasts had a rank 8 subterranean creature, leading tens of thousands of starving subterranean creatures to guard the base. On the west side, just outside the West Lake, a group of underground metahumans gathered together, each with a ferocious expression. Some looked like insects, some looked like beasts. There were all kinds of them, and there were many types. There were even strange giant insects that could jump tens of meters high and fly at low altitude. The level 8 underground beast here was a huge beast with a height of 6 meters. It had 2 horns on its head and 2 rows of bone spurs on its back. At the same time, it had 8 legs. The 2 eyes on its face weren't big, but its mouth was very big. There were 2 rows of sharp teeth and a long hanging tongue. The head of this subterranean exotic beast, with 2 protruding horns, was actually rather round. Its nose was very short, and there were some ferocious spikes on both sides of its face. It was lying on the top of a mountain a few hundred meters high, looking quietly in the direction of the base. Apart from it, no other beasts dared to approach the top of the mountain. Tens of thousands of large and small beasts gathered at the foot of the mountain. In an instant, they hunted and ate all the plants and animals on the mountain. It looked like the mountain had become barren. The situation in the other directions was more or less the same. Savage level 8 exotic beasts were leading a bunch of starving low-tier subterranean creatures, staring in the direction of the human base from afar. At the same time, the human base was also on standby. Outside the base of Wuxia, the number of underground beasts gradually increased, because the human population in Wuxia had always been the largest. Therefore, More than 10 level 8 underground beasts gathered outside the base of Wuxia and led a group of beasts towards Haiqing like a tide. Sikong Chen asked Wei Haichao and the others to bring out the backup weapons to deal with the underground creatures. Because Lin Xiao had only stolen half of them, Sikong Chen still had a portion hidden in other places, so he could only bring out the backup ones. Are you still going to keep an eye on her? What about those outside? Wei Haichao asked Sikong Chen. After all, only Sikong Chen could deal with those level 8 underground creatures. But Sikong Chen still had to guard against the female leader of the base. It seemed like he couldn't leave. What if after he left, that woman took the opportunity to come out and continue to cause damage to his base? Don't worry. With my aura here, they won't dare to come over. They won't dare to attack us. Sikong Chen didn't care much about the underground creatures outside. After all, the aura of his rank 9 arcana was very dangerous here. And those high-level subterranean beasts were not stupid. Chapter 14:17. Sikong Chen was right. After he released his aura, the heavenly Dao Sex spirit chi was extremely powerful. The underground creatures surrounding Wuxia base didn't dare to come closer. He looked at the direction where Lin Xiao disappeared. He believed that the woman was still in the original position. Others were thinking of ways to resist the underground creatures, but Sikong Chen wasn't worried about it. With his level 9 strength, these underground creatures wouldn't dare to provoke Wuxia base. Even if they came, he had a special weapon to deal with them. He wanted to see how long this woman could hide in this situation. She definitely knew how dangerous the situation was. She probably wouldn't be able to stay in the space for long. She had to worry about her base, right? Although Lin Xiao did think about the situation in the base, she wasn't too worried. Let's see how long Sikong Chen was going to guard her. Therefore, Lin Xiao hid in the space and didn't worry about the base at all. Sikong Chen was watching the place where she disappeared. The underground creatures outside of Wuxia base also didn't move. However, the underground creatures outside of Haiqing and Universal base weren't as peaceful as the ones around Wuxia base. They stayed more than 10 kilometers away from the human base. The longer they stayed, the more restless they became. Because they were hungry. They wanted to eat. They didn't want to eat soil. The low-tier exotic beasts, who were restrained by the high-tier subterranean beasts and couldn't run around, could only chew on the soil after they finished eating all the plants around them. The originally chubby mountain had become thinner. The underground creatures outside of Haiqing base and Haiqing base finally started to slowly move toward the zombies outside of the base. After a few days of careful observation, the zombies were all low-level ordinary zombies. The highest level was only level 2. Ordinary zombies and level 1 zombies didn't have any sense of danger, so they didn't care about the underground creatures that were gradually approaching them. However, the level 2 zombies seemed to have instinctively smelled danger and tried to hide in a panic. But because of the orders from Lin Kuei, Xiao Lily, and the other level 2 king zombies, they couldn't run too far. Haiqing base was also prepared. They contacted Qingshan base and invited Dong Xiaowei over. At the same time, he observed the movements of the underworld creatures outside the base. You can actually think of using zombies as rations. But what about the higher level ones? The intelligence of high-tier subterranean beasts wasn't low. Their tastes and habits were also very picky. They aren't as easy to deal with as those brainless low-tier subterranean beasts. Yi Yingyue, who had followed Dong Xiaowei's personal guards, stood on the roof of a building in the outer area of the Sea City base. She looked out of the base and asked Kong Qingming next to her. Kong Qingming shook his head. That's right, we didn't come up with this idea. It was the base that came up with it. We're just borrowing it. Yi Yingyue nodded. Oh, I see. But why do I feel that my leader won't be of any use if you invite him over? Sikong Chen is currently guarding his base and refusing to come out. Will he come to deal with you guys? Kong Qingming's hands were in the pockets of his camouflage pants. He turned to look at her and said, That's hard to say. After all, he has been planning to deal with Haiqing for a long time. He definitely won't give up just like that. I think he probably wants to drag leader Lu out of the Wuxia base before he's willing to go out. After all, leaving that troublesome guy in his backyard, and then leaving doesn't seem like a wise choice. Hearing that Lin Xiao was a troublesome guy, Yi Yingyue laughed. But what Kong Qingming said wasn't wrong. For Xikongchen, the current Lin Xiao was indeed a scourge to him. Xikongchen is about to die from anger. Several arsenals have been blown up. The important cultivation bases for soilless cultivation have also been destroyed. It can be said that the losses are heavy. Her round face smiled, revealing 2 dimples on both sides of her mouth. 2 cute canine teeth were revealed in her row of small white teeth. Kong Qingming looked at her gloating expression, and was also infected. He laughed. Yeah, he's about to explode from anger. If it were me, I would definitely vomit blood. Leader Lu's ability to cause trouble isn't just an ordinary kind of strong. Thinking back to the time when she had just returned to Haiqing as a zombie, she caused trouble and caused Yang Chao to come out. At the same time, she also took care of his entire family. Although Leader Lu's situation is a little difficult, it can buy us some time. If Xikongchen just happens to appear when these underground creatures are attacking the base, it will be a huge blow, Yi Yingyue said with a complicated expression. Kong Qingming didn't say anything. It was unknown whether he agreed with her view or not. At this moment, one of his subordinates hurriedly rushed to his side. Deputy Leader, the underground beast horde has started to move. Kong Qingming and Yi Yingyue looked at each other, and instantly jumped down from the roof. They didn't directly go out of the city to see the situation, but to the command center. In the conference room of the command center, Wu Qingyue brought a group of people, and waited for the scouts, who were watching the situation outside, to send back the news. Before the exotic beasts started to move, Wu Qingyue requested for them to report the situation of the exotic beasts in an hour. As long as the exotic beasts started to move, they had to report back from time to time. Wu Qingyue took the map of Haiqing and hung it on the wall for everyone to see. Moreover, the location of Haiqing base was marked with a line. It indicated the location and distance of the cats, herbs, and zombies outside the base. They are around 80 kilometers per hour, not fast. They are still a few kilometers away from the zombie horde. They will arrive in a few minutes. Xiao Liqing stood next to the map, holding a pen, and pointing a few kilometers away from the line of zombies. Wu Qingyue sat on the side closest to the map, and raised his chin to look at the map. He turned to look at the group of people standing at the door and said, "Watch the situation of them coming into contact with the zombie horde, and send back the information as soon as possible." Yes. The person standing by the door was the messenger responsible for receiving and transmitting information. After hearing Wu Qingyue's order, he immediately turned around and passed Wu Qingyue's order through the walkie-talkie. In just a few minutes, the news was sent back. The person wrote down the situation on a piece of paper in the communication room, beside the conference room, and quickly sent it back to the conference room. The news is back. Chapter 14:18. As soon as they heard the news, everyone immediately became spirited. One by one, they looked up at the messenger who delivered the news. Seeing that he handed the information to Xiao Liqing, they couldn't help but ask, "How is it? Are they attracted by those zombies?" Xiao Yunlong was the first to ask. Xiao Liqing also hurriedly took the information and read it. After a few glances, he heaved a sigh of relief. He replied, "They stopped. They really stopped." Those large numbers of low-level subterranean beasts didn't ignore that large group of zombies, but directly pounced on them to tear them apart. As soon as his words came out, everyone was relieved at the same time. Continue to watch, see if they will continue to stay in the zombie group to eat zombies, or if it's just temporary. Also, first activate the second level of combat readiness. Wu Qingyue calmly ordered after listening to him. Yes. And it wasn't only the situation in Haiqing, it was the same situation in Universal Base. A large number of subterranean beasts that rushed over were not picky at all, and didn't refuse any of them. They ate these slow-moving ordinary zombies that didn't have any sense of danger. They especially liked to dig out their brains to see if there was a zombie core. Among ordinary zombies, only 5 out of 100 would produce a zombie core. and among 100 zombies that produced a zombie core, only one could successfully advance to the first level. The higher they went, the harder it was to advance. Although it was very difficult for zombies to advance, it couldn't stop their huge numbers. There were hundreds of thousands to millions of people in a city, and there were tens of millions of people in first-tier and second-tier cities. Therefore, after 99% of humans became zombies, among billions of zombies, the number of zombies that advanced was still very large. If it wasn't for Lin Xiao's lake water that improved their physique, how could the zombie army of Universal Base advance so smoothly? And there was no failure rate. Seeing that these subterranean creatures didn't dislike these ordinary zombies, everyone in Universal Base was relieved. Obviously, the initial effect of Lin Wenwen's method was very good, but everyone didn't dare to be so relieved. They also had to observe whether those high-level subterranean creatures would break through this food barrier and continue to attack their base. While Universal Base and Haiqing Base were relieved because of the zombie defense line, China's Xikongchen and the others felt that something was wrong. Since Dong Xiaowei didn't expose his aura in Haiqing, the underground exotic beasts didn't sense him. Therefore, they did not dare to approach him, because they were afraid of his powerful level 9 aura. Otherwise, Haiqing would end up like Wuxia's base. The subterranean beasts only dared to watch from afar, not daring to approach. But this was obviously telling Xikongchen that Ocean City also had a rank 9 ability user. That was why Xikongchen did not know that there was a rank 9 metahuman waiting for him in Haiqing. But he did notice the zombie horde outside Haiqing and Universal Life Base. The state of these zombies was very strange. It seemed to be different from the normal zombie tide that he knew. Have the zombies been staying in the same place for the past few days? They didn't invade the Universal Base or Ocean City. Xikongchen stood on the roof of a building not far from where Lin Xiao was. He turned around and looked at the others with a frown. That's right. Those zombies didn't go berserk. They just stood there blankly. From the looks of it, it seems like they were specially fed to the subterranean exotic beasts. The rank 2 king zombies don't attack the human bases anymore. Instead, they are protecting them? Wei Haichao was also looking at the information about Haiqing and Universal Life Base with a puzzled expression. Originally, when they received the news that a large number of zombies had appeared outside Haiqing's base, they were waiting to watch a good show. In the end, they waited for a few days, and the zombies just obediently surrounded the human bases, without doing anything. Alright, this time, the zombies didn't attack the human bases. Instead, the subterranean exotic beasts on the periphery started to attack the human bases. In the end, they were stopped by the zombies. No matter how they looked at it, it felt like the zombies had built a line of defense outside Haiqing and Universal Life Base. Xikongchen thought for a while with a sullen expression, then turned to look at the place where Lin Xiao disappeared. He then turned back and guessed. Could it be they used some method to control these zombies? Don't forget, when this Universal Life Base was built 2 years ago, didn't they also put a group of zombies outside the base? As he said this, everyone looked at him. Their gazes were filled with recognition and sudden realization. No wonder. Han Xiao threw the pen in his hand on the table, and then said, could it be that this Universal Life Base is raising a king zombie? The others looked at him. Xikongchen raised his eyebrows slightly. I think the possibility of your guess is very high. Because that's what I thought just now. If they didn't raise high-level zombies, how could they control such a huge group of more than 100,000 zombies? Everyone looked at each other. At this time, even Lu Jinan couldn't help but say, these are all guesses. How can we prove that what you said is true? Can we find the king zombie they raised? This made him interested. As a researcher, for this kind of thing that humans couldn't do, he wanted to know how they did it no matter what. Actually, the most important thing was that he also had this thought. In fact, the most important thing was that he also wanted to know how they did it. And he had also done some research on it, but the result was all failures. So now that he heard someone else had a successful example, how could he not be interested? At this time, Wei Haichao said with a suspicious expression, so there are a few people following that woman who are very suspicious. Who? Lu Jinan asked him. Sikong Chun and Han Xiao both looked at Wei Haichao as if they had thought of something. Aren't there always people who like to wear sunglasses around that woman? Those people never take off their sunglasses in public. Wei Haichao said the answer. Then he started to count with his fingers. First Xia Dong. He used to be from Haicheng. Later on, when he went on a mission, he disappeared for a period of time. None of his team members came back. But not long after, this Xia Dong appeared in Haicheng with this woman. From then on, he seemed to have been wearing sunglasses. And these two girls, one is called Chiu Lily, the other is called El March. When the two little girls appear in public with humans, they also wear tinted glasses or sunglasses that can cover their eyes. He had long felt that the people in this universal life base were giving off a strange feeling. Now that he thought about it, it was because of this. Chapter 14:19. It can't be. These people are the trusted subordinates of that woman. If they are really what you are suspecting, they are all level 1 or level 2 kings. It is too scary for them to stay by that woman's side like this. Also, there is nothing about them that matches the characteristics of zombies, except for their eyes. Hearing Wei Haichao state his suspicions so confidently, the rest of the higher-ups in China were in disbelief. First of all, the behavior of these people was no different from a normal person. Could it be that they could imitate humans? But even if they wanted to imitate humans, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time, right? Secondly, that woman often brought these people to other human bases? Was she not afraid that they would be exposed? If these people were really like that, then that woman's guts were bigger than the heavens. Go and investigate the past information of these people. Sikongchen suddenly said to Han Xiao. Understood. Han Xiao immediately understood what he meant. In other words, Sikongchen wanted him to investigate whether the people that Wei Haichao mentioned had escaped from death, or if they had never appeared in a human base before. If their experience in a human base was blank, then there might be a big problem. However, it was very difficult to investigate whether they had been in a human base before. This was because a few of the human bases had already been destroyed. If they had lived in a human base before, then it would be very difficult to find out. After all, the number of humans that escaped to China was not even 1/20th of those in the human bases. Moreover, they had to find out whether there was anyone who knew these people from the human base. Therefore, Sikong Chun and Han Xiao did not have much hope for this investigation. The most direct method was to find the most obvious evidence. No wonder their base was so difficult to break into. We sent so many people to investigate, but they all failed. If they were using smell to sense, then how could they not be discovered? At this time, Wei Haichao thought of something else. It is possible. Moreover, Haicheng and this human base seem to be working together. If the human base can do it, then Haicheng can do it too. Sikongchen nodded. Then he frowned. If these subterranean beasts only care about eating zombies, then when they are full, would they still be interested in humans? Didn't this mean that Haicheng had escaped another disaster? How could they be so lucky? As expected, the subterranean beasts outside of Haicheng should go crazy. Lu Jinan laughed coldly. Sikongchen glanced at him and asked calmly, "Then can you develop the medicine from before?" Lu Jinan looked at him strangely. "Isn't the research method in your hands? If you didn't give it to me, how would I know how to develop it?" Sikongchen said expressionlessly, "I will give it to you when I find it." Lu Jinan shrugging his shoulders. Lin Xiao looked at Sikongchen and the others who were not far away from the space, and couldn't help but feel somewhat speechless. This Sikongchen was actually guarding her place to the death. However, the people he sent were still doing a lot of things. Lin B. Linny said. Lin /re Lin TBI. Although she wasn't worried that there would be a serious crisis in her base, it would be a lie to say that she wasn't concerned about the situation in her base, after being blocked by Sikongchen. At this moment, in the space 10,000 meters underground, the incomparably large level 9 exotic beast crawled out from its pit. As soon as it moved, the entire space fell silent. But it was useless. Soon the big guy started hunting again. And this time, it hunted twice as many beasts as the last time. Finally, It dragged another prey back to its nest and looked up at the sky. Finally, it dragged another prey back to the edge of its nest, and at the same time, looked up above its head. The people who were left behind by Lin Xiao Li observed the movements of the subterranean beast from afar. The group left behind by Lin Xiao observed the movements of the level 9 exotic beast from afar. They discovered that the number of beasts it hunted this time was much greater than before. They started to feel puzzled. This was the third time since their leader left. Why was it so frequent? Moreover, he was eating more and more each time. They felt that the subterranean beast was preparing for something. The people above ground didn't know what was going on underground. The people below ground didn't know what was going on above ground either. On the other side, outside Haiqing base, a large group of Guzi surrounded the foot of a mountain outside Wushan's plantation base. Not far in front of them was a group of subterranean beasts of different levels, but they were in led by a subterranean beast. A level 7 exotic beast had a body full of tentacles. At this moment, the tentacle monster was facing off against a big cat with 6 claws. The big cat had its back facing the plantation base. It bared its teeth at the tentacle monster and glared at it fiercely, ready to attack. If the tentacle monster dared to come closer, it would immediately pounce on it and fight it. The subterranean beasts were also afraid of the big cat. Because the big cat was a subterranean beast at level 7, and they only had one subterranean beast on their side. The level suppression of these subterranean beasts seemed to be very severe. They couldn't resist the majesty of a subterranean beast. So, the only thing that could go against the big cat was the tentacle monster. The tentacle monster had a huge body. It was small at the top and big at the bottom, and it had no feet. Its whole body was covered with long tentacles, and it seemed to be moving with these tentacles. While looking at it carefully, it looked a little familiar. It looked like a giant pile of excrement. Well, to put it more crudely, it looked like a big pile of poop, and it was a pile of poop with hair. Moreover, this fellow's body was also emitting a stench that made people dizzy. This made the dogs with sensitive noses feel like their noses were going to break. Although dogs couldn't change their eating habits, they definitely didn't like the smell of this tentacle poop. To the subterranean exotic beasts on the other side, these dogs were like a feast. Unfortunately, they were stopped by the big cat. They could only look, not eat. The dogs, who were targeted as food, were also very unhappy. They all pricked the hair on their necks and backs, baring their sharp mouths. From time to time, their throats issued a warning whine. Not far away from them, Old Mengua and the soldiers of the Zombie Legion stood on a small hill and looked over. Fortunately, it not a subterranean beast of level 8. It was blocked by a big cat. It saved us a lot of trouble, Old Mengua said with his back crossed, holding a tiger head crutch in one hand and holding his chin with the other. Lu Jun and the others next to him nodded, indicating that they agreed with his point of view. Originally, they had also gathered a group of zombies as backup, but now they couldn't use them. Chapter 1420. In this way, the underground beasts ate zombie meat outside the human base for a few days. The high-level beasts did not eat, but did not immediately control them to rush into the range of the human base. They suppressed their hunger, staring straight in the direction of the human base, but did not move. And they did not move. The people on the side of the base also did not move. Roar! Roar! One by one, the strange-looking underground creatures pounced on the zombie group with bared fangs and brandished claws. They had already pressed down one or two zombies under their claws, lowering their heads and gnawing on them. Their mouths were full of black blood, and their sharp teeth were also stained with the black and red blood of the zombies, as well as minced meat or brain matter. Although they did not directly come over, they did not eat those zombies. It seems that they want to eat humans. Xiao Liqing, who was standing on the city wall, said to Wu Qingyue beside him. Wu Qingyue also stared in the direction of the underground beasts, saying, "They are waiting." Xiao Liqing asked, "Waiting for what?" Wu Qingyue said, "I don't know what they are waiting for, but you see, since they are unwilling to eat the surrounding zombies like those low-level beasts, and they are not directly leaving. They certainly do not intend to give up attacking our base. But they have not attacked. I don't know what they are waiting for. But they must be waiting for something. At this time, Xiao Yunlong suddenly appeared beside them. There is bad news. It is about the universal base. Wu Qingyue and the other turned to look at him in puzzlement. What's wrong? Have they been attacked by the underground beasts? Xiao Yunlong shook his head and said, the people of China are now beginning to suspect that the universal base is raising zombies. And they are secretly sending people everywhere to collect intelligence information about some people in the universal base. The list of people they have collected are those around Leader Lu. The faint smile on Wu Qingyue's face disappeared. He frowned at Xiao Yunlong. Why would they suddenly suspect this? Well, I think I should know the reason. It seems to be caused by the zombie group outside. As he spoke, he turned his head to look at the zombie group outside the base that was being bitten by the underground beasts. But China doesn't seem to suspect Leader Lu. This should be good news. But Xiadong, Qiu Lily, Elmar and others are all suspected. Xiao Yunlong spoke again. Xiao Liqing snorted. I reckon that it won't be long before Si Kongchen sends out another message, saying that the news about the zombies in the base is true. Furthermore, he will use the reason that the zombies in the base are harming other bases, or are against humanity. They never lack reasons to attack other bases. Since China had already started to investigate, Si Kongchen would definitely want to start from this matter. Since he had already suspected this much, then no matter whether it was true or not, he had to make it true. Si Kongchen himself is a rank 9 arcanist. His powerful aura can suppress those underground beasts. With that, he didn't have to worry about those subterranean exotic beasts attacking Wuxia's base. There are so many benefits to having a high level. Wu Qingyue turned and looked to the north. Xiao Yunlong frowned. The speed of Si Kongchen's advancement is too fast. Moreover, is it that easy to reach the 9th level? Wu Qingyue thought for a moment and said, he might have used some extreme method to increase his strength, and it wasn't a temporary one. It's been so many days. Yet he can still maintain the energy of a rank 9. It's obvious that he has successfully advanced. Wouldn't he be a little weaker than a normal rank 9 arcanist? Xiao Yunlong asked with some doubt. Wu Qingyue glanced at him indifferently. Even if he is weak, it's not something you and I can deal with. The only one who could deal with Si Kongchen now was Dong Xiaowei, whom they had invited. But he was not very worried about Si Kongchen now. He was somewhat concerned about the state of these high-level subterranean exotic beasts. What were they waiting for? Liqing, I'm a little concerned about the intention of these things guarding here. Go to the base and find Lin Wenwen, and see if she has any special foresight. He suddenly turned to Xiao Liqing and gave an order. Special foresight. Xiao Liqing didn't understand what he meant. Wu Qingyue said, I think these things are waiting for something. Go find Lin Wenwen. Her second ability is quite special. Give her some hints. Maybe she can foresee what will happen later. Xiao Liqing nodded. Understood. If the people of Haiqing and Universal Life Base wanted to circle around the underground exotic beasts that were hunting crazily outside, all they had to do was spray themselves with catnip juice, circle around where the exotic beasts were, and leave through an opening on the side. Because these subterranean exotic beasts did not surround Sea City so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Soon Lin Wenwen saw Xiao Liqing. Hey, asking me if I have a premonition that something special is going to happen later? No. Lin Wenwen looked at Xiao Liqing in surprise. She knew that the other party came to ask about her second ability, but other than seeing Lin Qiao attack the base last time, she did not see any subterranean creatures attacking the base. When she transmigrated back in time, she often saw it. But after coming back, she had not seen it. Are you sure you haven't seen it? Xiao Liqing was slightly relieved after hearing her answer, and confirmed again. Lin Wenwen nodded. If it's about these subterranean exotic beasts, then I really haven't. Why are you asking this? Is there a reason? Xiao Liqing said. Because our leader feels that the high-level subterranean exotic beasts above level 5 seem to be waiting for something to appear. That's why our leader wants me to ask you if you have seen or know anything. Lin Wenwen revealed a thoughtful look. Yes, we have also noticed this situation that Leader Wu mentioned, but I really didn't see anything. Maybe it's because my time isn't up yet? Xiao Liqing looked at her blankly, and then looked at the others. Time? At this time, Yuan Tianqing explained, if it's not someone close to her, or if it's someone who wants to know about the changes in the public, then she can only sense what will happen in a short period of time. In other words, this ability of hers has a time limit. If it's not very close to the time of the incident, she won't be able to see anything. Xiao Liqing finally understood. So that's how it is. Then at least, there won't be anything major happening in the near future. Simply put, Lin Wenwen's second ability currently did not have enough energy, so the ability was a little lacking. You can say that hiss. Lin Wenwen was just about to nod, but her expression suddenly changed. She covered her head with both hands and took a deep breath. Chapter 1421. Lin Wenwen's actions stunned the others. They looked at her worriedly. What's wrong? But Lin Wenwen didn't have the energy to care about them at this time, because her mind was occupied by a chaotic scene. Yuan Tianqing quickly raised his hand to block Xiao Liqing. Her ability must be acting up. Something must be appearing in her mind now. I guess she doesn't have time to care about us now. Xiao Liqing couldn't help but guess. Could it be the question I asked just now? Did it really give her a hint? Yuan Tianqing turned his head and glanced at him. Maybe. Xiao Liqing didn't say anything. The two of them looked at Lin Wenwen quietly, waiting for her to recover. Lin Wenwen didn't maintain this state for long. After a few seconds, Lin Wenwen's eyes lit up. After a few seconds, she slowly raised her head and closed her eyes, rubbing her temples with her fingers. What's the situation? Yuan Tianqing looked at her and asked. Lin Wenwen opened her eyes. Her gaze was a little unfocused. She closed her eyes for another 2 times before she became clear again. Well, I saw something, but I don't quite understand what's going on, she said with a puzzled expression. What did you see? Tell me. Yuan Tianqing wanted her to say what she saw. Lin Wenwen looked up at him, and then at Xiao Liqing. Then she said, I saw the streets of the city, but it wasn't like it is now. It was like before. There were people coming and going on the streets, many cars. And the greenery was also normal. It was peaceful. I think what I saw was the scene before the apocalypse. Yuan Tianqing and Xiao Liqing looked at each other in confusion. Then they looked at Lin Wenwen and continued to ask her, Is there anything else? Lin Wenwen shook her head. Well, that's all I saw. There doesn't seem to be anything strange. Apart from these scenes being from before the apocalypse, there's nothing unusual. She also showed a confused expression. She didn't quite understand what the scene she saw was foreshadowing. Lin Wenwen's words made Yuan Tianqing and Xiao Liqing even more confused. Then they began to think of a possibility. Why did you see the scene before the apocalypse? Yuan Tianqing looked at her. He didn't forget that this girl had gone back to the past. Now that she saw the scene of the past, could it be that he wanted her to return to the past? But why did he want her to return to the past for no reason? Or did something happen here that caused her to return to the past? Did you see anything special? Or something like that? Yuan Tianqing couldn't help but ask. Lin Wenwen shook his head. I've already told you. Other than the people and cars coming and going on the streets, there's nothing else. Do the trees on both sides of the road count? Yuan Tianqing turned to look at Xiao Liqing. He didn't know if Xiao Liqing knew that Lin Wenwen had gone back in time. Therefore, it was not convenient for him to say it out loud. Xiao Liqing thought for a moment and said, Perhaps there's something very important in what Miss Lin saw, but she doesn't know it yet. After all, she could only see what would happen in the future. She had never seen what had happened in the past. Perhaps what she saw this time has something to do with what we're about to face. When Lin Wenwen heard this, she frowned and thought carefully about the scene just now, wondering if there were any details that she had overlooked. At this time, it was like playing a game of finding fault, trying to find something different. In the end, Lin Wenwen didn't say anything unusual. Xiao Liqing could only go back unwillingly. After returning, he reported the situation to Wu Qingyue. Wu Qingyue also showed a puzzled expression. Then he slightly frowned and thought, Since she had a reaction to her ability after seeing you, it means that your hint worked. That means your hint worked. So what she saw must have something to do with what you said. Although Lin Wenwen's ability was activated randomly, she didn't actively see what she wanted to see. But there must be a reason for her random inspiration ability. Xiao Liqing nodded. I think so too. But what's the connection? Wu Qingyue frowned and didn't say anything. Time passed day by day. The underground beasts ate more than half of the zombies. They were probably full. On the other hand, Xikong Chen sent people to investigate the situation of the base, while still guarding his own base, waiting to catch Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao, on the other hand, was peacefully planting grass in her space base. She wasn't worried, but Lu Tianyi was worried for her. You haven't gone out for so many days. Are you really okay? Lin Xiao squatted on the ground, moving a recently cultivated catnip seedling into the pit. Then, while holding the landfill, she replied, It's only been 10 days. If something really happens, they will probably think of a way to lure Xikong Chen away to let me go out. With Xikong Chen's current strength, it was impossible for him to come here silently to find her. So if they wanted to attract her attention, they would have to directly lure Xikong Chen away. She couldn't get close to him, but there was still a way to lure him away. Lu Tianyi was a bit speechless. I didn't expect Xikong Chen to be so patient. He actually refused to leave. He has been guarding for so many days. Isn't he worried about those underground beasts? Lin Xiao said. What's there to worry about? He's now a level 9. There aren't any underground beasts stronger than him. How would he dare to charge in? Lu Tianyi thought about it. That's true. I keep feeling like you're in a dead end. When will Xikong Chen leave? If Xikong Chen didn't leave, Lin Xiao wouldn't go out, right? Lin Xiao touched her heart. She looked at the ground with a thoughtful expression. That might not be the case. I'm guessing that he won't be able to guard this place for long. What do you mean? Lu Tianyi looked at her confused. Lin Xiao raised her head and shook her head. It's hard to explain. Just wait and see. For the past 2 days, her heart had been palpitating, as if she had a premonition that something was about to happen. It was just like the warning she had when she was very close to the level 9 beast in the underground space. However, her feeling now wasn't as strong as it was then. So it was just a sign that something was about to happen. However, it didn't make her feel alarmed. Not long after, Xikong Chen, Wu Qingyue, and the people from the other bases received a piece of news. The holes that the underground beasts had crawled out of were now overflowing, with a large amount of unknown fog. Furthermore, it was coming out on its own, and wasn't brought out by the underground beasts. Every hole was like a sprayer, spewing out a large amount of unknown fog. The fog rose high into the air, and then spread into the air. Chapter 1422. The surroundings of the underground beasts' caves were already barren to begin with, because when those exotic beasts first appeared, the various gases they brought out had already turned the surrounding plants into sand or withered. There was no vitality, no plants, no animals, only barren land that had been destroyed. But this situation did not last long before it stopped. After the exotic beasts left, the poisonous gas no longer appeared in the cave. Therefore, the surrounding vitality that was swallowed was only within a few hundred meters. Beyond this area, it would return to its original state. However, the mist that gushed out this time carried a purplish-red star that spread around with the wind. The scope of the mist was not just within a few hundred meters. It quickly spread to a few hundred meters away, up to 1,000 meters away, and was still spreading outwards. It's that kind of energy gas in the underground space. This kind of energy is very vicious and overbearing. If it doesn't stop, I'm afraid it won't be long before all the vitality on the ground will be swallowed clean. Kong Qingming had been to the underground space in Haiqing Base before, so he recognized the mist when he saw it. It's not easy to block those cave entrances. The gas is also very harmful to humans. If you want to get close, you have to make preparations first. Wu Qingyue frowned slightly. He didn't know how the poisonous energy gas came out from tens of thousands of meters underground. And if we want to block the cave entrances around the base, We have to get rid of the underground exotic beasts on the periphery of the base first. Those low-level ones are easy to deal with, but it depends on how those high-level ones deal with them. Xiao Yunlong was also frowning at the side, searching for a way in his mind with a serious expression. According to the speed at which the poisonous energy gas is spreading, if we don't block it as soon as possible, it will spread to our base in less than a month. Wu Qingyue thought for a moment, then said, and rather than blocking it, it's better to disperse it. Blocking it is only temporary. Since they couldn't think of a way to completely resolve the poisonous energy gas, they could only temporarily block the cave entrances. But there were only so many caves in the country, they couldn't block all of them. Especially since there weren't many people in the southwest and northwest. Now it would take a lot of manpower and time to send people over. The speed at which the gas was spreading was not fast, and the closest to Haiqing was dozens of kilometers away. Therefore, according to Wu Qingyue's calculations, their base would be covered by the energy gas in a month's time. Could it be that something happened to that level 9 exotic beast in the underground space? Because when we were down there, Chief Lu said that the level 9 fellow seemed to be able to control these energy gases. Kong Qingming thought for a long time with a sullen face, and suddenly remembered what Lin Xiao had said when they were underground. It was just that Lin Xiao's tone at the time wasn't very certain. Wu Qingyue, Xiao Yunlong, and the others all turned to look at him. It's related to that level 9 beast again? But aren't these gases formed because of the environment? Kong Qingming expressed that he wasn't sure either. I'm just guessing. Perhaps we'll have to ask Leader Lu herself. She was close to that level 9 exotic beast before. Wu Qingyue and the others were silent for a while, thinking that they should indeed call Lin Xiao back to discuss. Wait a minute. You're saying Leader Lu stayed close to that level 9 exotic beast? You weren't discovered? Xiao Liqing, who had been silent all this while, suddenly looked at Kong Qingming and asked. Everyone. The most frightening thing was that the air suddenly became quiet. So, if she could come and go freely next to a level 9 exotic beast, it didn't make sense that she would be discovered in front of Xikongchen? One must know that the perception of an exotic beast was stronger than that of a human, not to mention that it was a level 9 exotic beast. Lin Xiao herself couldn't have not thought of this situation. Could it be she was pretending? Xiao Yunlong turned to look at Wu Qingyue and asked him, what do you think she's trying to do? Is she deliberately delaying Xikongchen? What's her intention? Wu Qingyue looked at him in silence, his face expressionless. Could he say that he didn't know what she was up to? Because she hid and didn't come out. Everyone thought that Lin Xiao was afraid of Xikongchen, and at the same time, it gave Xikongchen the illusion that she had been trapped. But what was her intention in doing this? Does the Universal Life Base know about this situation? They should know about it, right? Xiao Liqing asked, but he hesitated for a moment. After all, they were her people. They should know what she was planning. So Wu Qingyue immediately sent people to the Universal Life Base to inquire about the news. Lin Feng and the others expressed, huh? Is that so? That is to say, the leader is just pretending to be trapped there. But her movements are actually not restricted? Yuan Tianqing looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Lin Wenwen. And Lin Wenwen also looked at him. Everyone had a blank look on their faces. It seems that she didn't even reveal any information to you guys. If you want to hide from the enemy, you have to first deceive your own people? Seeing their reactions, Xiao Liqing somewhat understood Lin Xiao's actions. She made Xikongchen think that he was the only one there, and she didn't dare to come out. Her first goal is to delay Xikongchen there. But there is only one advantage to doing this. And that is, we don't have to deal with his own attacks for the time being. Is it so that we have spare energy to deal with those underground beasts? Lin Feng understood Lin Xiao better, and guessed the possible motive of her doing this. But why? If Xikongchen wants to go out, then the first thing he will deal with is your sea city. We don't have to worry too much. The leader of Green Mountain Base is currently in Ocean City. If Xikongchen can't take over Ocean City, then he can't do anything about it. If Xikongchen can't take over Sea City, he will definitely turn around and deal with our base. Lin Wenwen suddenly said. Lin Feng and the others immediately fell silent. Lin Wenwen was right. It seemed that Lin Xiao already knew that Sea City would go to Blue Land to ask for help. This way, Sikong Chun would definitely not be able to do anything to Sea City, but he could turn around and deal with the universal base next to it. If Wu Chengyue wanted Dong Xiaowei to defend the universal base, then he would have to give up Sea City. But Lin Xiao understood Wu Chengyue. He wouldn't give up on the human survivors in Sea City. So if he knew that Sikong Chun was going to make a move, he would probably bring the survivors to Sea City to take refuge. And that was what Wu Chengyue did. As early as a few days ago, the ordinary humans in the universal base had already been quietly moved to Sea City. Now Lin Feng and the others were all metahumans and soldiers, as well as the zombie army at the second base. Maybe she's delaying for time, waiting for an opportunity? Could it be that she already knew that there would be movement in the underground space? Is this what she's waiting for? Xiao Liqing concluded as he looked at the others. Chapter 1423. Lin Feng, Yuan Tianxing, and the others looked at each other. If that's the case, I think she wants Sikong Chun and Wu Chengyue to hold each other back first, and then wait for the situation to turn for the better. As for whether she knows that there will be abnormalities in the underground space, it's hard to say. Perhaps she knows, or she's just making a prediction. After hearing Xiao Liqing's words, Lin Feng felt that there was a high possibility that what he said was true. This was because Lin Xiao was the one who knew the situation underground the best. If she could predict what would happen underground at this time, it would definitely be a huge movement. From the looks of it, Sikong Chun could suppress the underground beasts, but he couldn't suppress the spread of the poisonous gas. In the end, Wuxia would have to face the same problem. He wouldn't have the time to care about anything else. Lin Xiao would be able to slip out and find a chance to attack Sikong Chun. Could it be that the level 9 beast underground is about to come out? Yuan Tianxing asked with a frown. He looked at Lin Wenwen. Wenwen didn't see the premonition either. It shouldn't be coming out, right? Lin Wenwen said, that might not be the case. Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it won't appear. At this moment, Li Zheng appeared at the door. He stood by the door and knocked, looking at everyone. Seeing Lin Feng nod to let him in, he walked in. Li Zheng stood next to Lin Feng and said, those high-level underground beasts are making strange movements. Lin Feng raised his head and asked, what strange movements? The others also looked at Li Zheng. If those high-level underground beasts were making strange movements, it must have something to do with the poisonous gas. They're very restless. They seem to be preparing to attack our base. But since those low-level underground beasts don't have any motivation, they've already given up on commanding them, Li Zheng said. In other words, the underground beasts above level 5 to level 8 were going to attack the human base together. They were all high-level beasts. Even if their numbers were small, no one in the human base could resist them. Just those level 8 beasts alone were unstoppable. The pressure on Lin Feng and the others suddenly increased. They didn't know what Lin Xiao was up to in Wuxia, but she doesn't seem to be worried about the base. What's going on? Could it be that your leader left you some sort of backup plan? Although most of the people have already moved to Sea City, she wouldn't just leave the base like this, right? Xiao Liqing looked at Lin Feng and the others with uncertainty. Lin Feng glanced at Yuan Tianxing, and both of them shook their heads at the same time. He suddenly turned to Li Zheng and said, go and ask those at the second base if the leader left any words or anything special for them. Li Zheng looked at him in confusion. What message? Something special? Lin Feng said, don't ask anything else. Just follow my instructions. Li Zheng nodded. Yes. Seeing Li Zheng leave, Lin Feng said to Yuan Tianxing and Xiao Liqing, don't hold too much hope. Let's think of a solution first. If those high-tier subterranean exotic beasts really charge at us, we can only retreat. Yuan Tianxing sighed. Yes, what else can we do? Although Lin Xiao went to steal the weapons that were specially used to deal with the subterranean exotic beasts, she didn't send them back. Although there was a lot of catnip scattered outside the base, it shouldn't have much effect on those high-level and intelligent subterranean exotic beasts. But not long after Li Zheng left, Qiu Lily and the others came. Yes, you guessed right. The leader did leave a message before she left. She said, "Don't worry and stay in the base. It'll be fine," Elmar said to them after she came in. Yuan Tianxing and the others looked up at her in confusion. Huh? She told them to stay in the base. But those level 7 and 8 subterranean exotic beasts were going to rush in and eat them one by one. How could they stay there? Elmar shrugged. That's what she said. Didn't you send someone to ask? Qiu Lily walked to the window and leaned against it. Elmar and Lin Kuei found a place to sit. Lin Kuei said seriously, "The leader did say that if we can't stop them at the last moment, it's better to stay in the base and not go anywhere." Lin Feng asked him doubtfully, "Did she say why? She has to have a reason." Qiu Lily and the others shook their heads and said in unison, "No. Lin Feng, Yuan Tianxing, Xiao Liqing and the others. Will it really be fine? Why do I feel that she's not reliable?" Yuan Tianxing said quietly. Xiao Liqing glanced at him. "She's your leader. Don't you know whether she's reliable or not?" Yuan Tianxing. He couldn't refute that. "I believe what she said. Why don't we see what will happen? Anyway, if we really can't hold on, we'll just scatter first." Qiu Lily raised her hand and looked at everyone. Lin Wenwen also agreed. "I agree. If there was any critical situation, she would leave Dong Xinxin behind. The base naturally didn't need to worry about the situation in Haicheng. At most, they could just release Dong Xiaowei's aura to keep them away. With the aura of a level 9 arcanist, no matter how irrational these exotic beasts were, they would not rush over instinctively." Lin Feng was silent for a while. Since she said that, she must have her reasons. Let's do as she says. It's her order after all. Of course they couldn't disobey their leader's orders. After all, their leader wasn't someone who would cause trouble without reason. While everyone was guessing whether or not Lin Xiao had some hidden cards up his sleeves, Lin Xiao was observing the situation outside the space. Seeing Han Xiao and Wei Haichao coming over more frequently these 2 days, Lin Xiao felt that it was about time. She closed her eyes and finally flashed out of the space. Then, she quietly stood on the spot and looked in Xikong Chen's direction. After a few seconds, she turned around and sneaked toward the Wuxia base's inner area. Lu Tianyi was surprised and puzzled when he sensed Lin Xiao coming out of the space. Why did she go out now? Wasn't it dangerous outside? But now that Lin Xiao had gone out, he couldn't ask her. He could only ask her when she came back. Lin Xiao came out for a few seconds. After confirming that Xikong Chen had no reaction, she went to look for her next target. Then, she headed for her next destination, which was also somewhere in Wuxia. Xikong Chen still didn't know that the rabbit he had been guarding for more than 10 days had snuck out again. He didn't feel it at all. He was already locked onto by the situation he had been guarding here for the past few days. He still thought that it was impossible for Lin Xiao to come out, unless she wanted to be discovered by him. Chapter 1424. Lin Xiao knew that Xikong Chen could sense all existences with energy levels lower than his. If she was a normal level 8 zombie or a level 8 metahuman, she definitely wouldn't be able to escape his senses. However, she didn't forget that she was moving around the level 9 exotic beast in the underground space. Even that level 9 exotic beast couldn't sense her. That meant that Xikong Chen shouldn't be able to sense her existence either. However, while maintaining her guard, Lin Xiao wasn't sure if Xikong Chen was really like the level 9 exotic beasts in the underground space, unable to sense her. However, she was at least 70 to 80% sure of it. She had been hiding and not going out. On one hand, she wanted Xikong Chen to think that she couldn't escape his senses. On the other hand, she was waiting for the situation outside to change. Naturally, there was a reason why she could stay in the space so peacefully. In the eyes of outsiders, she was trapped by Xikong Chen. However, Lin Xiao was indeed waiting for the changes in the underground space. Although Lin Xiao's foresight wasn't as accurate as Lin Wenwen's, she could vaguely sense what was happening in the underground space. However, she could vaguely sense something from what she saw. Her observation skills had never been bad. When she was in the underground space, she saw that the level 9 exotic beast's energy was being converted in large amounts. That was why it hunted in large amounts, absorbing the flesh and blood of those level 8 exotic beasts to convert the energy in its body. The energy in that underground exotic beast's body wasn't the same as the energy in the underground space. Instead, it was another type of energy that was converted from that energy. The energy in that level 9 exotic beast's body was even more dangerous than the energy in the underground space. It had completely suppressed the energy in the underground space, which was why it could control everything in the underground space. When Lin Xiao got close to it, she actually discovered miraculously that she could sense the thoughts of that level 9 exotic beast. Its intelligence wasn't that high. On the contrary, it was even lower than those level 8 exotic beasts. However, its wild instincts were very terrifying. That was why those level 8 exotic beasts were afraid of it. Although she could sense the thoughts of that level 9 exotic beast, she didn't really understand it. On the other hand, Lin Xiao was able to guess its thoughts when she saw it raise its head from time to time. That fellow probably wouldn't be able to stay underground for long. As such, when she came to the surface and saw the gathering of the subterranean exotic beasts, she guessed that it might be related to that level 9 exotic beast. They didn't gather together just to level up. This was actually a special ceremony. As such, after combining the situation of the level 9 exotic beast underground and the exotic beasts on the surface, Lin Xiao knew it probably wouldn't take long. The big guy underground was about to come out. This time, he would let Sikongchen deal with it. She had said earlier that the level 9 exotic beast was waiting for him. Since he would not deal with it, she would draw it to her. With a flash, Lin Xiao sneaked into the inner region of Wuxia and quickly found a place. She knew that Sikongchen had a lot of underground research facilities. Not only were there outside of Wuxia, but there were also quite a few inside Wuxia. She remembered that there was also one underground in the inner region of Wuxia. Although he didn't know what kind of research it was definitely not simple for it to be built in the inner district. In any case, she came to Wuxia to cause trouble. Since she couldn't kill Sikongchen, she could just destroy one of his research facilities before she left. I hope Sikongchen doesn't mind. Heh. Sikongchen was still standing on the rooftop, with Wei Haichao and Han Xiao standing opposite him. They reported the situation of the subterranean exotic beasts outside the base to him, and told him about their investigation of the base. The closest cave to us is 30 kilometers away. The poisonous gas at the cave entrance is spreading at a speed of about 1,200 meters per day. At this rate, it'll reach our base in less than a month. There's nothing that can stop the poisonous gas from spreading. What are we going to do in a month? Wei Haichao asked, looking at Sikongchen. Haven't we already rushed to make the masks? Sikongchen asked. Masks for more than 1 million people. It's impossible to make them even in a month. Han Xiao interrupted from the side. Actually, Huaxia's population of 2 million had already been reduced by about half after the second virus outbreak. Now there were only about 1,200,000 people left. Haiqing only had about 600,000 to 700,000 people left. Currently, all 6 bases in the country added up didn't even have a population of 3 million people. Haven't we already made 200,000 finished products? We have 1 more month. If it's not enough, then there's nothing we can do. They're just unlucky. Sikongchen said faintly, then asked him, Did you find out if the people in the base are humans or zombies? Hearing this, Wei Haichao also stared at Han Xiao. He was also very curious about whether the people in the base were humans or zombies. Han Xiao frowned and said, I didn't find out the identity of the 2 girls, but I found out about Lin Kuei. He's the level 7 experimental zombie that was stolen from our base at the beginning of last year. His words successfully made Sikongchen and Wei Haichao excited. They both looked at him. It's him. It's him. That woman took him away. But why can he become like a normal person now? The 2 girls are also very suspicious. Just because we can't find them doesn't mean they're humans. Instead, they're even more suspicious. Wei Haichao looked at Han Xiao in surprise. No way? He's that Logia-type zombie? But he's completely different from before. Han Xiao nodded and said, It's him. because he had only appeared by that woman's side after he had disappeared for a period of time. Fortunately, we still have some people in Sea City. This information was obtained with great difficulty by him risking his life. Sikong-chun snorted and then turned to look at the place where Lin Xiao was no longer. She can't run. Since she dared to bring this zombie to her side, there must be a second one, or a third one. No wonder the base was surrounded by zombies, but didn't react to the humans in the base. If this isn't being controlled, then what is? Wei Haichao looked at Han Xiao. Are you sure it's that zombie? Since you know the identity of this Lin Kuei, why can't you get the information about the others? Han Xiao looked at him and replied, do you think it's that easy to get their information? This Lin Kuei is the experimental zombie that we lost, and he accidentally got it. It's all luck. The others aren't so lucky. But just this Lin Kuei alone has already shown that there are many problems around this woman. That's right. In this woman's base, it's very likely that there are a lot of high-level zombies. Although I don't know what method she used to change the appearance of those zombies. By the way, didn't this woman die once? Sikong Chen's calm eyes suddenly flashed. Chapter 1425. There is such a thing. But you think she is a zombie, it seems unlikely. There's nothing suspicious about her. Hearing Sikong Chen mention that Lu Tianyu had died once, Han Xiao and Wei Haichao looked at each other and felt that his guess was unlikely. After all, the other suspects all liked to wear glasses and didn't show their eyes. The eyes were the best evidence of a zombie, but this woman's eyes were normal, and she was openly showing them. But it's really strange that these zombies can actually evolve back to human form. Although many high-level zombies can recover most of their appearance, it is very strange for them to be able to recover so well and speak normally. Wei Haichao stood on the side, holding his arms with a puzzled expression on his face. Continue to investigate, even if there's nothing wrong with this woman. At that time, let's see if the mere 20,000 people in her base dare to continue staying in that zombie base. Sikong Chun said coldly, then said, Wu Qingyue actually cooperated with this kind of base. Does he want to betray humanity and help the zombies? No matter what his intentions are, just collaborating with the zombies is already against the rules of human survival in all the major bases. Han Xiao said, zombies were meant to eat humans, and humans were meant to kill zombies. Both sides were on opposite sides, and it was a situation where they would kill each other. And Wu Qingyue actually cooperated with zombies at this time. It was equal to going against humanity. This was not allowed, because it was the instinct and nature of zombies to eat humans. They were mortal enemies with humans. This woman is raising zombies in her base. Don't tell me she's feeding humans to them? No wonder none of the people we sent before returned. Wei Haichao muttered at this time. At this time, the Universal Base in Ocean City also noticed that China was investigating the Universal Base. After discovering that Lin Kuei's information had been leaked, he knew that the secret of the Universal Base could no longer be hidden. Fortunately, Lin Feng and the others had already made preparations for this. Even if they were exposed, they had a way to deal with it. Sea City, on the other hand, might be affected. Lin Feng sent someone to inform Wu Qingyue to see what he was going to do. If the zombies in the base were to be exposed, he would have to make a choice. Should they choose to help the Universal Base and betray Ocean City? Or should they choose to dissolve their relationship with the Universal Base and attack them? There were at least 600,000 to 700,000 people in Haicheng. It was impossible for him to control so many people to agree with Lin Xiao's zombie army. Even if these zombies didn't harm them, as long as they were zombies, it was impossible. Wu Qingyue was sitting in his office, Xiao Liqing and Xiao Yunlong were sitting in front of his desk, and Kong Qingming was standing next to him. The three of them looked at him, waiting for him to speak. After a moment of silence, Wu Qingyue said with an expressionless face, If that's the case, then let's go. Yunlong, I'll leave this to you and Old Zhou. The three of them looked at each other and asked, Are you sure about this? Old Wu's words clearly indicated that he did not intend to bring them over to the Universal Camp. There were so many people in Haicheng, and he did not intend to let all of them join the Universal Camp's zombie army. After all, that was impossible. But Wu Qingyue did not intend to give up the Universal Base. After all, he already knew Lin Xiao's identity. He also knew everything about her base. After deciding on Lin Xiao, he never thought of giving up on her. He also knew that she would not give up her base and her army, so Wu Qingyue naturally would not persuade her to give up those things. Xiao Yunlong raised his eyebrows. It seems that you have already decided. Paper can't cover fire, and the Universal Base's zombie army actually did not really want to hide. Otherwise, their leader would not take them on missions everywhere. If they were afraid of being discovered, it would be better to hide and not appear. But she did not do so. Instead, she frequently took them out for activities. Looking at her, she actually did not intend to hide her zombie army for a long time. As long as it was exposed, she would stand on the opposite side of humanity and be hostile to humanity. Then you don't have to keep us here. We can go with you. Xiao Yunlong frowned and looked at him. Wu Qingyue shook his head slightly. If you follow me, you will face the hostility of the entire human base. This will not do you any good. Are you still willing to follow me? But you are already there, and you don't care about Sea City anymore. Then there is no point for us to stay here. Xiao Yunlong shrugged indifferently. Although Sea City was built by them, if Wu Qingyue was not here, then this base would not have much meaning to them. Compared to this base, they wanted to follow Wu Qingyue more. After all, if the base was gone, they could build another one. If the relationship between people was broken, then it was broken. Xiao Liqing nodded in agreement. I will follow you wherever you go. Kong Qingming spread out his hands lazily. In any case, Lu Tianyi is over there. I don't want to stay here. The base is big, but there are still so many things to do every day. Isn't it because of Long Qingying? Wu Qingyue smiled at him. Kong Qingming. Half and half, aren't you the same? The base that he built himself was abandoned just like that. Wu Qingyue glanced at Xiao Liqing, then turned to Xiao Yunlong and said, Are you sure that little Yu is willing to go with us? Xiao Yunlong nodded. Do you need to worry about this? Little Yu's attitude towards you is more important than me. If you want to leave, she will definitely be the first to leave Sea City. But I didn't expect you to be so straightforward. This base was also built by him. Everyone knew how much effort he had put in. And then for his own woman he threw it away. Wu Qingyue smiled faintly. From the time I knew her identity to the time I was going to propose to her, I already had this plan. The base can be built by myself, but the other half is not so easy to find. Especially in this era, finding a wife is more difficult than building a base. With his strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to build another base now. But it was very difficult to find a woman that he liked and was suitable for himself. Especially this woman was his son's mother. If he didn't look for her, who else could he look for? Xiao Yunlong nodded, then raised his hand and patted Xiao Liqing next to him. It's okay, there are many girls over there. Xiao Cheng, you can also find one. Even if it's a zombie, it doesn't matter. Apart from this special example, look at Chen Yuding and his wife. They are also living quite well. Xiao Liqing. Why did it suddenly become the rhythm of urging him to get married? Chapter 1426. Just when Wu Qingyue decided to choose his wife and child, and give up on the Sea City base he built with his own hands. On the other side, Lin Feng and the others also called for a meeting with the few humans who stayed in the base. Apart from the few thousand troops led by Yuan Tianxing and Lin Feng, most of the members of Dong Xinxin's March Corps hunters were left in the base. As for the few corpse hunting groups that joined with the March Corps hunters, they were sent back when Lin Feng transferred the ordinary people in the base to Sea City. Only Dong Xinxin and the others were unwilling to leave. They only sent away some ordinary members and their families who had no combat ability. On the square in the inner district of the base, several basic army corps that originally belonged to Lin Feng and Yuan Tianxing stood neatly on one side. In the middle stood the new corps that had joined for less than 3 months. On the other side stood Dong Xinxin and the other survivors who had combat ability but were unwilling to go to Sea City for protection. What's going on? Why did they suddenly summon us here? Are they not going to care about the underground beasts outside the base? Among Dong Xinxin's group, Luo Yuanjun couldn't help but ask as he looked around. His handsome face looked a lot tougher because his skin had darkened, and a pair of shrewd eyes swept around. Deng Chenfei and Dong Lijia looked at Dong Xinxin at the same time. Dong Xinxin shrugged. Why are you looking at me? How would I know? Dong Lijia looked around. His eyes were still smiling, and the corners of his mouth were slightly curled up. But the others didn't know whether he was smiling or not. Anyway, it was just a faint smile. He looked around and said, Are they trying to persuade us to leave? Do you remember what Wenwen told us when we first arrived? Dong Xinxin suddenly recalled what Lin Wenwen had said at that time. She had said that if they had to choose to leave or not to stay, even if they had to leave, they shouldn't be her enemy. Is that so? She looked in the direction of Lin Feng and the others with uncertainty. They're here. At this moment, Lin Feng and Yuan Tianxing brought Du Yuanxing, Li Zheng, Chen Yuding, Lin Wenwen, and a bunch of other people out and walked up to the high platform. Lin Feng stood on the high platform and scanned the thousands of people below expressionlessly. Only then did he speak up. Don't worry, everyone. Although you're all here, there are still people outside the base holding back those subterranean beasts. There wouldn't be any exotic beasts charging into the base for now. Today, I've gathered everyone here to explain one thing. In fact, a small number of people already know the reason, but most people don't. At this point, he paused slightly. He gave everyone some time to react to what he said, and also to mentally prepare them for what he was going to say next. Among the small group of people he mentioned were Qin Yu, her partner Sun Lunan, Dou Yinfan, Jiang Anan, Ling Jing, and so on. Hearing his words, Dong Xinxin and Dong Lijia looked at each other, and a look of understanding flashed across their eyes. No one knows what the second base looks like, what's inside, and why no one is allowed to get close. I can tell you now, because even if I don't say it today, I believe you'll hear about it soon. Lin Feng stood ramrod straight in his military uniform, his long legs slightly spread apart. The cape on his back fluttered slightly in the wind. His eyes under his military cap were cold and stern. He continued, I can tell you now why the second base doesn't allow you to get close. Because without them, this base wouldn't have been built. Without them, you wouldn't be able to live so comfortably in this base. But their identity is that they are the enemies of humans, because they aren't humans. Not a human. The last sentence successfully stirred up everyone present. Dong Xinxin and the others looked at each other blankly, asking in confusion, Not humans? Could it be that there are mutated beasts hiding there? Or zombies? Woof! Just as everyone was making wild guesses, a dog's bark suddenly rang out from a corner of the plaza. Everyone turned their heads and saw a big black dog jumping onto a short building at the side, barking at the densely packed people in the plaza. Woof! 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 Lin Feng and the others. Dong Xinxin and the others. Everyone at the scene. Seeing that everyone at the scene looked at the dog with a look of understanding, Lin Feng and the others' mouths twitched stiffly. Dong Xinxin. It can't be. Are they really raising a group of mutated beasts? Just as she finished speaking, she saw an even larger mutated snake sneak out from beside the big dog. Its black body coiled around the entire roof, like a 1,000-year-old snake demon, looking down at the group of humans from above. Lin Feng raised his hand and patted his forehead. He quickly raised his hand to get everyone's attention. Oh, let me clarify. When I said they weren't humans, I wasn't referring to them. Dong Xinxin and the others turned their heads. This wasn't it. She almost thought that the second base of this base was a mutated zoo. Lin Feng and the others couldn't do anything about these pets that were temporarily left unattended. After all, other than Lin Xiao who could order them around, they were all free. Usually they didn't enter the base, but today, they somehow slipped in and just happened to appear when he was speaking. Were they trying to cause trouble? Let's get down to business. What I'm talking about is that the second base is not a human base, but you can often see them. After all, they wear military uniforms just like you, but they won't show their eyes to you. When Lin Feng mentioned military uniforms, he turned his face to the soldiers. The people below were already starting to feel a little uneasy. However, compared to the survivors, the soldiers who had undergone strict training were still calmer. Although they didn't say anything, their eyes were looking left and right at their comrades, trying to find out what was going on. Are you saying that the second base is raising zombies? At this time, among the survivors, someone finally asked. The person who asked the question had a forceful tone of questioning in his voice. Also, he used the word raising zombies, which was a bit ambiguous. After he said that, everyone immediately began to discuss with each other. After all, Lin Feng also said that those who wore military uniforms like the soldiers, but didn't show their sunglasses. Everyone would often see teams of soldiers patrolling in the base, but everyone wore sunglasses. Whether it was the sun or the wind or rain, they would never wear their sunglasses. Also, they never spoke, only did their work. Thinking about living in the same base with a group of zombies disguised as humans, but being kept in the dark, they didn't know anything. Also, there was the danger of being eaten at any time, even the danger of being infected by the zombie virus. This time, everyone really couldn't calm down. Chapter 14:27. Dong Xinxin and the others looked at each other in surprise. I really didn't think about it. So that's what happened. She sighed with a slightly shocked expression on her face. Dong Lijia couldn't keep the smile on his face anymore. He opened his half-closed eyes and nodded expressionlessly. No wonder Wenwen said those things to us when she first came. It seems that she was afraid that we wouldn't be mentally prepared. Deng Chenfei just frowned slightly and didn't say anything. Luo Yuanjun asked curiously, but why are they with a group of zombies? And Lin Feng just said that without them, this base couldn't have been built. At the same time, these zombies are protecting the safety of this base. At this time, Deng Chenfei said, look at the army here. This base has been built for 2 years, but there are only a few thousand people. Don't you think it's too little? Think about when they first built this base, they didn't have enough manpower. And they even borrowed people from High City to help. The other 3 people immediately became silent and looked at him without saying anything. Because what he said was right. Did Wenwen and the others know about this? But, are they really zombies? They seem to be no different from normal people, except that they like to wear sunglasses and don't talk. Their behavior seems to be normal. Dong Xinxin said, puzzled. How could there be zombies like this? Aren't zombies supposed to attack humans the moment they see them? How did the zombies in this base do that? Since this is a zombie base, why didn't you tell us when we first joined? At this time, some survivors angrily asked. Lin Feng said indifferently, if we told you, would you continue to stay? Moreover, this matter was originally confidential. If we had told you when you came in, do you think we would have let you leave here safely with our secrets? Did you trick us into coming in to be food for your zombies? No wonder there was a group of zombies outside the base. When we first came, these people seemed to be very angry about this, and they angrily shouted at Lin Feng and the others on the stage. That's right. If we knew this was a zombie base, who would want to come here? You didn't tell us because you wanted to feed us to the zombies. Disgusting. Raising zombies. Zombies and us humans are irreconcilable enemies. You actually want humans and zombies to live together. Do you want to commit crimes against humanity? I think they were controlled by zombies, so they tricked us into coming in. I'm afraid they want to use us as food for the zombies. The survivors started cursing and scolding at the same time. Many people from the new division also started yelling. Only the veterans looked at each other, their gazes wavering, but they did not say anything. Lin Feng and the others already knew that they would have such a reaction. They looked at them calmly. That's why I'm giving you a chance this time. His voice carried the pressure of a level 7 arcanist, and it instantly silenced everyone. When everyone heard him say that he would give them a chance, they were both angry and curious. Today, I'll let you walk out of this base safely. In the future, you can go wherever you want. But after you leave, the universal base will never accept you again. Lin Feng said. Who would want to join your zombie base? It's not like we're idiots. As soon as he finished, someone mocked him loudly. That's right, that's right. That's right. There was even a wave of agreement. Lin Feng sneered. Heh, then remember what you said today. The north gate is open, you can leave. I'll even send people to escort you through the territory of the underground beasts, so you can leave safely. These people were living a comfortable life here now. When they went out, they would know how scarce food and resources were in the base outside, especially in those bases with hundreds of thousands to millions of people. The living conditions were even harsher. Compared to the food-planting base, the purified land resources, and the pure catnip that hadn't mutated. It won't be long before they know how happy their lives in the universal base are. Smart people would think of all these. We don't need you to send us off. Who knows if you're going to let us die the moment we leave this gate? Even without you guys, we can still barge through the territory of the underground beasts. Those who wanted to leave said excitedly. They also knew that there were still many gaps between the underground beasts, and they could go around them. Who knew if Lin Feng would kill them and feed them to the zombies when he said he would send them out? Lin Feng nodded indifferently. Up to you. Those who want to leave can leave. Those who want to stay can also stay. Those who remain will continue to live the same way you lived here before. Who wants to stay? It's not like they're stupid. Let's go, let's go. Everyone, let's go, be careful. Who knows, they might be plotting something. Otherwise, why would they expose their secrets? Those who wanted to leave said to Lin Feng in disdain, and then started to gather those who wanted to leave. Just as everyone was preparing to leave, someone suddenly said, I'm not leaving, I'm staying. The scene suddenly became quiet, and everyone turned to look at the person who said he wanted to stay. The person who spoke was a man in his early 30s with a tough look and a sturdy build. His expression was very calm as he said, even if we go out and join Haiqing or China, they are currently lacking in resources and food. Furthermore, China has no intention of accepting new survivors. Furthermore, all the land has been polluted, and this is the only place where we can grow plants that haven't mutated. If we go out, we might not be bitten to death by the zombies. However, we might very well starve to death. This person was actually a survivor from the old Hell King's base, and was also the leader of the second batch of survivors to join Universal Base, Wang Jian. He was an ordinary person, but his observation skills were more thorough than the average person, and he had extraordinary courage and insight. His personality was also very strict. Otherwise, he would not have brought a group of people all the way from the old Hell King's base to Universal Base. He had already seen the situation of the other bases, and going to Haiqing was their best choice, because it was close, and Haiqing was a large city. However, the population was also large, and there were no farming bases. It was said that the food source would still be supplied by Universal Base. Going to China was even more impossible, not to mention the distance. There were all sorts of dangers along the way. Furthermore, China did not accept new people. Therefore, going out might not necessarily lead to a better life, so it was better to continue staying here. After all, before this, they had always been living in harmony. Wang Jian finally looked at Lin Feng and said, We are willing to stay, but we want to know the whole truth. At the very least, we want to know what kind of situation the humans in Base 1 and the humans in Base 2 are in. Chapter 1428. Wang Jian's words made a lot of people hesitate, because what he said was right, even though they were living with zombies in this base. But they couldn't deny that they had been living a comfortable life for the past 2 years. The conditions here weren't bad, in fact they were getting better and better. If they were to leave now, the living conditions in other bases would definitely be much more difficult than here. Especially for ordinary people like them who didn't have abilities. Lin Feng said, Just now you said that we are raising zombies? But you're wrong. This base was built by them. They are the real owners of this base. You are just living here temporarily. And you said that you might be used as food for the zombies. Then let me ask you, did this base give you any restrictions? Did it restrict your freedom? Did it make all of you disappear? Did they do anything to hurt you? They are indeed zombies, but they are different from the zombies outside. They don't need your flesh and blood as food, and they don't need your energy cores to increase their strength. They are just our friends and family turned into zombies, and they built this base to protect us. Among the people in base number 2, there might be relatives and friends you once knew who died once. His words successfully made everyone calm down. Just now, everyone was excited about being deceived into living with zombies, and they had forgotten about the life they had been living here for the past 2 years. But now that Lin Feng mentioned it, plus the problem that Wang Jian had mentioned, the people who were moved by Lin Feng's words immediately hesitated. Lin Feng didn't wait for them to think it through and said, "No matter what, I will announce this matter here today. This is because I want to give you a chance to make a choice. Stay or go. You can choose, but if you leave, don't come back. If you want to stay, we welcome you." Just like someone asked us about our relationship with the second base, I can only tell you that we are equal to them. Now that you say that, what if they can't control themselves and hurt us humans? Can you stop them? Someone's attitude changed, and he couldn't help but ask the first question about living with zombies, which was also the most important question. Because zombies eat people is an instinctive instinct, they can't control themselves. Our base has rules for you guys, and we also have rules for the residents of base 2. If they have committed a crime, we will punish them as well. Lin Feng replied solemnly to the voice that raised the question. Don't believe their words. They're all liars. It's all a lie to talk about equality now. The first person who took the lead to say that he wanted to leave saw that some people on his side were wavering, so he immediately shouted angrily. Lin Feng said to him, "It's up to you whether you believe it or not. We won't force you to believe it." Dong Xinxin and Dong Lijia looked at each other and said, "I put forward a condition when I joined them, that they can't kick us out no matter what happens. I believe in Wenwen. She must have her reasons. I will ask her what she means, so I will stay. What about you guys?" Dong Lijia had no intention of objecting. "Whatever you say. I didn't expect those people to be zombies. I was suddenly very curious about them. What made them evolve to be similar to a normal person? I can't even tell that they are zombies from their thoughts and actions. Why is that?" He was very curious about the reason behind it. And the strange thing was that he didn't feel disgusted or afraid at all. She didn't know if it was because of Lin Wenwen. After all, she had already warned them from the beginning. Moreover, she, Lin Feng, and the other siblings seemed to have a close relationship with the second base. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so protective of it. The brother and sister looked at Ding Chunfei and Luo Yuanjun, waiting for their response. Luo Yuanjun put one hand on his waist, and the other pinched his chin. He said thoughtfully, "To tell you the truth, after he said that, I'm also very curious about that side. And this base has been fine before, hasn't it? Base 2 was also very mysterious. But there were quite a lot of people there too. If Lin Feng can explain the situation there to us, or let us meet the people from base 2 officially, I don't mind staying here. Besides, we've waited for so many years. Won't it be very shameful if we are kicked out as soon as we arrive?" How many times had they refused Wu Qingyue's invitation in High City in the past 7 years? Now they had just joined the base for a few months, and now they were being kicked out. Even if they weren't kicked out, if others talked about it, they would definitely treat it as a joke. They looked at Deng Chunfei again. Deng Chunfei's face was cold and expressionless. He said, "Stay." To be honest, he was also curious. At this time, Wang Jian also spoke. He looked at the person who said he wanted to leave and said, "He's right. So to prove that you are not lying to us, please let the leader of base 2 come out and meet us officially. Also, I want to know which side the leader of this base belongs to. There is only one leader in this base. Whether it is base 1 or base 2, they both belong to her alone." At this time, a girl's clear voice came out of nowhere. Several figures flashed and appeared on the high platform where Lin Feng and the others were. The one who spoke was Chiu Lily, who was wearing a white dress and white leather shoes. Her hair was 2 meters long. She stood on the high platform gracefully. She raised her chin and took off her sunglasses. It revealed a pair of black ruby eyes that glowed red. "I am Chiu Lily of Base 2, a level 7 zombie king. I am the 1st Regiment commander of the Zombie Legion of Base 2. Elmar stood up behind her. Her petite figure was wearing a green military uniform, which made her look more stern. She took off her glasses and said calmly, I am the 2nd Regiment Commander of the Zombie Legion of Base 2. I am the 2nd Regiment Commander of the Zombie Legion of Base 2, El March. I am a level 2 king. Lin Kuei and the others behind them didn't say anything. Only these 2 girls and Xiadong had official positions in the military, but Xiadong wasn't here at the moment. However, Lin Kuei, Jing Yan Yin Xiao, and the others took off their sunglasses. A group of level 1 and 2 zombie kings stood on the stage. Their aura instantly pushed aside the aura of Lin Feng and the others. Everyone was stunned when they saw the zombie kings, who were dressed in formal attire, and had a powerful aura appeared. Because they didn't hide their aura at all. The aura of a group of level 6 and 7 zombies wasn't something that the level 3, 4, or 5 paranormals or ordinary humans could withstand. Chapter 1429. In fact, most of the people here relied on this base. Otherwise, when Lin Feng arranged for those who had no combat power to go to the sea, they wouldn't have voluntarily stayed and planned to fight together. Although they were angry at Lin Feng for hiding it, they didn't deny that they were very satisfied with the life in this base. Now seeing Qiu Lily and Elmar take off their sunglasses, the people below showed a shocked expression. Hearing about it was one thing. Seeing it with their own eyes was another thing. There are really zombies. They are really zombies. Seeing zombies, everyone instinctively panicked. Because in their impression, zombies were all man-eaters. Because of their preconceived notions, they had long been afraid of monsters like zombies. Qiu Lily and Elmar were the 2 girls who most often followed Lin Xiao. They were people that everyone in the base knew. But these 2 girls usually appeared and disappeared mysteriously. They didn't expect them to be zombies. Now that they thought about it, it was normal. And these 2 were actually level 7 level 2 kings. Is there any other problem? We also signed the agreement that you signed with the base. We also live according to the rules of the base, and we don't want to interfere with your life in the first base. Elmar stood next to Qiu Lily, looking at the people who began to panic and began to retreat. If it wasn't for your information being leaked, I'm afraid that you would have been hiding this secret from us, right? The people below subconsciously distanced themselves from the high platform, and then they all spoke resentfully. If you don't know, you won't have any psychological burden. If you all know that this is a zombie base, will you still come? Besides, if you all know, will they still have a place to live? Lin Feng replied calmly. Then he pointed at Elmar and the others. They are now zombies, but they haven't forgotten that they used to be human. They have long been used to their previous habits. Even if they become zombies, they still have their original thoughts and original humanity. They have to fight against their zombie instincts. But at the same time, they just want to live in a quiet human form. Even if they are zombies, they also have the right to pursue their own way of living. He continued. Although they became zombies, they would not harm humans. In fact, like Lin Xiao, these zombies with human memories were now in a very awkward situation. Being a human is not a human, being a zombie is not a zombie. Sandwiched in the middle, left or right, he could only be independent. That's why Lin Xiao built this base. She wanted to find a place for the zombies who were in the same predicament as her. Like Lu Jun, Qiu Lily, Elmar, Xiedong, Shen Yuzhen and the others. Since this is the base of zombies, if you don't want to harm people, then don't let humans in. Someone said discontentedly, but his voice was much weaker. You were the ones who wanted to join us. We didn't invite you. Moreover, he had already said it earlier. Originally, your life was not going to interfere with the second base. You guys live your lives and they live theirs. If you think that we're taking you in out of kindness, we have ill intentions. Then shouldn't I be sending you off now? Let's just treat it like we're doing charity for these 2 years. Now take care, I won't send you off. At this moment, Lin Wenwen, who was standing behind Lin Feng, walked up and said mockingly to the people below. Other than the first batch of people that Lin Xiao brought back from Hades King's base, the rest of the people were voluntarily invited to join them. Now that these people kept using ill intentions to speculate about their base, Lin Wenwen felt a burst of anger in her heart. Our words are still the same. This base is not only for zombies to live in, but also for humans to live in. Otherwise, we wouldn't have divided it into 2 parts. If you can't accept it, then please leave. If you're willing to accept it, then you can stay. We will also be responsible for your safety. Lin Feng followed up his sister's words and said loudly. Previously, a bunch of people shouted that they wanted to leave, but now their eyes were wandering. They kept looking at the people around them, their hearts wavering. Go to Haiqing or Wuxia, or even other bases. Let's not talk about how they would be treated in the base. Just looking for the zombies, mutated beasts, mutated plants, and underground beasts would be enough to make them suffer. There were even poisonous energy gases everywhere. If they went out, their chances of survival would be greatly reduced. But if they stayed, they would have to face a group of zombies, and they would be prepared to become food at any time. They might even be viewed as enemies by the people from other bases. Both sides were not human, but at least with enough food and resources, they didn't have to worry about food and clothing. Food was the most important thing to the people. Without food and resources, everything else was just empty talk. We're not leaving. Anyway, we're all here to survive. How can we live without food? At this time, Dong Xinxin suddenly shouted, and Dong Lijia, and the group of members behind her, were actually people they had brought out from before the apocalypse. They had deep feelings for them and relied on them. These people also followed their lead. In this post-apocalyptic world, everyone's goal was to survive. So it was the same no matter where they lived. The most important thing was the problem of food. Moreover, the zombies in this base would not harm humans. Moreover, Lin Feng and the rest had said in front of the public that these zombies would not harm humans. So in the future, everyone would be able to supervise them. What's the point of saying so much? In their eyes, us zombies are all different species. No matter how much you say, they won't accept our existence. Since there's no way to hide it, then we'll just chase all these humans out. It would also save us the trouble of protecting their personal safety, and also caring about their mental state. So troublesome. At this time, a slightly hoarse voice sounded carelessly. Everyone looked up and saw a slender man standing on the telephone pole next to them. His hands were in his trouser pockets. His handsome face had a frivolous expression, the corner of his mouth raised as he looked at the people below with a smile that wasn't a smile. And on another telephone pole, there was also a woman in a white dress standing quietly, her long hair fluttering in the wind. Her figure was slim and graceful. Her beautiful face was expressionless, a pair of zombie-like black eyes coldly looking at everyone with a strange white light. Mo Yen, don't speak. I want to beat you up if you speak. If you chase all the humans out, then what about Lin Feng and the rest? Aren't they humans? You want to chase them out too? I think the first thing the leader will do when he comes back is to kick you out. Xiao Lily saw him and stared at him unhappily. Mo Yin just shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, do what you want. Chapter 1430. We will stay too. We will stay alive no matter where we go. For the sake of Deputy Leader Lin and Deputy Leader Yuan, we will trust you this once. I'll trust you guys this once. Seeing that Dong Xinxin and the others were willing to stay, Wang Jian also spoke up. I will stay. I am alone anyway. It is the same wherever I go. But I like this base. I don't want to leave. At this moment, a weak but firm voice came out from the military side. I will stay too. Me too. I choose to stay. It is the same wherever I go. I just want to have food to eat. Soon after, many similar voices came from the army, and more voices came. Those of you who want to stay, you will definitely regret it. This must be their trap. You actually believe that you can live peacefully with zombies. I don't know if you are naive or stupid. Seeing that quite a few people wanted to stay, the person who had shouted to leave immediately called out. At the same time, he led a group of people out. His words made many people waver. Just now they wanted to stay because of Wang Jian and the rest, but now they were not so sure. While the people below were hesitating, Yuan Tianxing asked Lin Kuei and the others from above. You guys came in. Is there no one watching outside? They didn't forget that there were a bunch of underground monsters outside, right? Elmar turned to look at him and said calmly, it's fine, don't worry. Although those things are restless, they seem to be hesitant. It seems that they are afraid of something in our base. No wonder the leader told us not to worry. What exactly is it? Lin Feng turned around and asked curiously. Elmar also shook her head. I don't know, she didn't say. Maybe you can ask Tingting, he will know. Lin Feng, Yuan Tianxing, and the rest looked at each other in confusion. Did Lin Xiao tell Tingting about the problem? After looking at each other, Yuan Tianxing said to Lin Feng. All right, give them some time to consider. We will ask Tingting about the situation first. Lin Feng nodded, then turned to the people who were discussing whether to leave or not, and said loudly, You guys decide. If you want to stay or leave, it is up to you. We won't be accompanying you for now. After saying that, he walked down the stage with Yuan Tianxing and the rest, and went to the second base in a car. Du Yuanxing and Chen Yuding were left to maintain the order. Elmar and the others also disappeared from the high platform in a flash. They were always jumping around, and were too lazy to sit in a car. Even moving slowly was slower than moving themselves. Little Tungting and Wu Yueling were in Lin Xiao's house, under the care of Duan Wan and Xin Yuzhen. Even without Wu Chungyue or Lin Xiao, as long as Wu Yueling was by Tungting's side, she could sit quietly and draw or play with Big Fat Rabbit. She would occasionally chat with Tungting, but it was Tungting talking and she was listening. Xin Yuzhen, who was outside the door, smelled the scent of Lin Feng and the rest. She pushed the door open and said to little Tung Tung, who was lying on the sofa, Tung Tung, your first uncle, and the rest seem to be looking for you. Tungting got up from the sofa, leaned against the back of the sofa, and nodded to her. Yes, I smell it too. At this time, Wu Yueling also turned her head and asked him softly, Are there many people? Little Tungting counted with his fingers. Yes, big uncle, Uncle Yuan, little Aunt Wenwen, and Sister Lily are here too. Hearing that there were so many people, Wu Yueling immediately sat up straight, and looked a little nervous. Tungting thought for a moment, then immediately crawled over and sat on her lap. If you're afraid, then hug me. That way, I won't be afraid. He knew that Wu Yueling was autistic, but she was much better now. However, as long as there were more than 3 people who were unfamiliar with her, she would unconsciously feel nervous and afraid. But now she knew how to restrain herself. She had made great progress. But give her something to hold in her arms, and she will feel better. Therefore, little Tungting simply used himself as her pillow. Seeing Tungting climb onto her lap, Wu Yueling naturally reached out and hugged his soft little body. On the other side of her was a big gray rabbit that was even bigger than Tung Tung. Duan Wan walked out of the kitchen, wearing an apron. While wiping her hands with a towel, she asked, Why are they here? Aren't they having a meeting? Are they having fun? Sitting in Wu Yueling's arms, little Tingting touched his chin and thought for a moment. Yes, they probably want to ask about the underground monsters outside. Duan Wan asked him in confusion, Why do they want to ask you about this? Little Tungting shrugged his little shoulders, looked at her with his big sparkling eyes, and shook his head. I guessed it. Why did so many people suddenly come to find me? It's something Mama left behind before she left to make them think that I should know something. Duan Wan nodded. That's true. She looked at little Tungting and couldn't help but sigh. Although this child was young, and had only been born for a few months, his thinking was very mature. She wondered how he grew up like this in Lin Xiao's belly. Or did his thinking develop in advance when he was in the space? After a while, Lin Feng and the others arrived. Seeing Xin Yuzhen standing at the door, Xin Yuzhen spoke first before he could say anything. Please come in. Little Tungting is already waiting for you. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. He can smell us from so far away. Lin Feng and the others knew that little Tungting had a nose that was no weaker than a zombie's. Shen Yuzhen only smiled. He guessed that you guys are here to ask him about those subterranean exotic beasts, right? Yuan Tianxing, who was behind Lin Feng, smiled. This child is really smart. He can even guess this. Qiu Lily said, as expected of Qiao Qiao's child. He's as surprising as she is. After entering, they saw the 2 children sitting on the sofa. Duan Wan stood by the side. Seeing them come in, she led them to their seats and poured them tea that she had brewed earlier. The tea was produced in Lin Xiao's space. It was fresh, sweet, and moist. Seeing little Tungting, Lin Wenwen was the first to rush over and hug him. Ah, our little Tungting let Aunt hug him. However, before she could get close, little Tungting raised his hand to stop her. Wait, you can't hug him now. As he said that, he pointed at the nervous Wu Yueling with his pinky. When Wu Yueling saw Lin Wenwen rushing over, she subconsciously shrunk back. Her eyes widened and she stared at him nervously. She also tightened her arms around little Tungting. Lin Wenwen understood what was going on as soon as he saw it. He could only give up and retreat. Alright, you have to hug him after they leave. Little Tungting spread his hands. No problem. After Lin Feng sat down, he looked at little Tungting and asked, You seem to have guessed why we are here. Do you know what's going on? Little Tungting nodded. Yes, I think I know. Look at that. He raised his little hand and pointed at the counter at the side of the room. There was a sealed glass bottle there. It wasn't big, only 500 milliliters. It was the size of a 2 yuan mineral water bottle. The bottle was half filled with a dark red liquid. What is that? It looks like some kind of blood. Everyone turned to look and this thought flashed through their minds. It's blood, Mommy's blood. It's for me to drink. Little Tungting said. Chapter 1431. Huh? Why did you drink this? Lin Feng and the others looked at her in shock. Little Tungting said, Do you know what else is in there besides Mama's blood? There was the catnip brought back by little Aunt, the black fruit brought up by Mama, and the lake water in her space. You guys can't drink these 4 things, but I can drink them. Also, I have a special effect after drinking it. It's just that you guys can't discover it. Lin Wenwen's eyes flashed. He stared at him and asked, Could it be that the one those underground beasts are afraid of is you? Everyone's eyes lit up as they stared at Tung Tung. So it was you. What was going on? Did you and your mama have this trick up their sleeves? Little Tungting nodded seriously. Since you aren't those underground exotic beasts, you won't feel much of a change in my aura. But if you carefully sense it, you should be able to sense that my aura is different from before. This was the reason why he had not concealed his aura. Actually, this was a little secret between him and Lin Xiao. Little Tung Tung itself was a very special existence. His intuition was not inferior to Lin Wenwen's, and his aura was also very strange. Lin Xiao had noticed this a long time ago. Previously, when Lin Xiao brought him to the cultivation base to deal with the pets, he noticed that Big Red was behaving strangely towards Xiao Tingting. He seemed to be confirming something, but also seemed to be on guard against something. The combination of Lin Xiao's blood and the lake water in her space, as well as the catnip and the black fruit, produced some strange effects. This was something that Lung Xiantong had researched recently. The effect of Lin Xiao's blood was very strong. It could change the zombies' physique and increase their strength. Furthermore, the underground mutant beasts were afraid of him. Later on, Little Tung Tung accidentally saw this medicine of hers and actually felt a kind of temptation. Moreover, his intuition told him that this medicinal blood was good for him. Therefore, he asked Lin Xiao for a sip. At that time, Lin Xiao wasn't sure if he should give it to him. However, Little Tung Tung's intuition was very accurate. She also began to wonder what kind of changes would occur to this little brat. In the end, as soon as Little Tungting finished drinking, Big Red, who was not far away, instantly started running. Then he kept a distance from Tung Tung, at least 1 kilometer. Only Lin Xiao and Little Tungting knew about this. Even Lung Xiantong, who created this medicinal blood, didn't know about it. Lin Feng and the others, as well as Qiu Lily and the others, immediately released their perception to sense the changes in his aura. Qiu Lily and the others were the first to discover it. No wonder I had a strange feeling when I approached this place, and it became more intense after I entered this room. So it's coming from you. Qiu Lily's nose twitched, then she tilted her head and looked at Tung Ting curiously. Lin Wenwen also revealed an expression of understanding. So it's you. Moreover, Big Sister didn't even tell us such an important thing. So those subterranean exotic beasts didn't charge in directly, because they were afraid of your aura? But you're clearly very weak. Those are level 7 or level 8 underground beasts. At this time, Elmar's nose twitched, And she suddenly shook her head and said, "No, although the aura on this child's body is weak, it's very strong. However, the pressure in his aura is also very strong. It's probably because of the leader's blood." Lin Wenwen looked at her in confusion. "Is that so?" Qiu Lily and Lin Kuei nodded. "That's right. They were zombies, so they could sense things more clearly than Lin Feng and the others. The aura from Lin Xiao's blood was that of a level 8 zombie emperor. When Tung Tung drank it, it actually transformed into Tung Tung's aura. It's just that they couldn't sense it in terms of energy aura. However, zombies and mutated beasts with beast senses could sense it. Everyone ran over to find out about Lin Xiao's last life-saving move, and the soldiers and survivors who were left behind in the plaza finally had their own choices. Seeing that zombies could speak, they were a little shocked. However, after confirming that these zombies wouldn't harm them, they started to feel strange. After all, in their understanding of zombies, they could only bare their fangs and claws, and roar like ferocious beasts. Here they saw one that could speak, and it could even speak normally and fluently. They felt as though they had seen a new continent. After the shock, they then faced the problem of whether they should stay or leave. Without food, even if they went to a big base, they wouldn't be able to survive for long. It was better to stay here and gamble. Chen Yuding and Du Yuanxing looked at them quietly and didn't urge them to leave. Those who wanted to stay stood where they were, while Dong Xinxin and the others stood at the side, making way for those who wanted to leave. Then the people in the square left the base in waves. In the end, under the pressure of living with zombies, 1/3 of the people left. Seeing that the situation was about right, Chen Yuding nodded to Du Yuanxing. Then, he stood in the middle of the platform and said loudly to those who wanted to stay, "Everyone is welcome to stay. The base will also guarantee that the second base will not interfere with the lives of the first base. At the very least, before everyone truly accepted them, they would avoid base number 1. However, at the same time, both sides are equal. So after everyone has settled down in the first base, don't go and disturb the second base. So here, we need everyone to sign a new base agreement." "I have a question." At this time, Wang Jian suddenly opened his mouth. He looked at Chen Yuding and the others and asked. Chen Yuding politely nodded to him. "Please ask." "Although we may not be harmed in the base, since this is a zombie base, we will definitely be rejected by other bases. What if we are attacked by other bases? Will the base take responsibility for this situation?" Wang Jian looked at him seriously and asked. Chen Yuding nodded. "This problem will be taken care of by the base. Our leader and deputy leaders will also think of a way to solve this situation as soon as possible." After hearing his answer, Wang Jian nodded. "Okay, in that case I'll sign it." The people who left, and the people who stayed also stayed. Although the subterranean beasts were still surrounding them, they only dared to watch and not rush in. When the situation gradually stabilized, Wu Qingyue gathered a group of base leaders for a meeting. He was going to step down from his position as the leader of Haicheng. The news of the two bases quickly reached Sikong Chen's ears. He sneered, "Very good, they exposed themselves. Now we don't even need to investigate, they spread the news themselves." Also, Wu Qingyue actually gave up on Haicheng at this time and invited the leader of Qingshan base to take charge. He definitely wants to help this zombie base. Chapter 1432. Sikong Chun was just worrying about how to find out the secret of the Universal Research Base, but the other party exposed the secret herself. This gave them a reason to openly attack the other party. It was the same as giving it to them. If they didn't make good use of it, wouldn't they be too stupid? Moreover, Wu Qingyue actually left Sea City, which was exactly what he wanted. At least there were a lot of troops and weapons in Sea City. If he wanted to attack Sea City, he would naturally have to lose his weapons and equipment. Now that Wu Qingyue left Sea City, it meant that he had lost these guarantees. It would be much easier to deal with him now. Thinking about how half of his weapons were destroyed by that woman, Sikong Chun had nowhere to vent his frustrations. Boom! Just as he was feeling happy, there was suddenly a huge explosion in the inner district. Si Kongchen turned his head and stared in that direction. What happened? When Han Xiao heard the commotion, he knew that something was wrong. Soon, a few figures flashed in front of them and reported. Report, the trading research base in the inner district was blown up. Before he could finish, Si Kongchen's figure had already disappeared. Who did it? Wei Haichao asked with a frown. It's the female leader of the Universal Research Base. The subordinate who came to report said hesitantly. Han Xiao and Wei Haichao were stunned. Then, they looked in the direction of the sound, and then at the place where Lin Xiao had entered the space. Could it be that she wasn't here all along? That she left a long time ago? And their leader had been guarding here for more than 10 days. Then why hasn't she left? To see the leader make a fool of herself? Or is she planning something? Han Xiao frowned in confusion. Wei Haichao shrugged. It's hard to guess what this woman is thinking, but it's easy to guess our leader's mood right now. Han Xiao. He's probably going to vomit blood. After being tricked by a woman so many times, he thought he could finally suppress her. But the result is the same. It's completely useless. Si Kongchen had already sensed the aura that Lin Xiao suddenly exposed when the subordinate came to report. The other party exposed her aura completely to mock him. At this moment, he was so angry that his entire face looked a little sinister. The veins on his forehead bulged, and his eyes bulged fiercely. The muscles on his face tightened, and he clenched his teeth to form a straight line. That woman had treated him like a fool time and time again. She looked down on him so much. Regardless of whether she was a human or a zombie, he had to capture her. Then, he would slowly torture her, and let her feel the feeling of being humiliated and teased. Then in front of her, they destroyed her base, captured her people, and killed or tortured them in front of her. He wanted her to be punished. Lin Xiao had attacked Wuxia one after another, but he had hidden like a ghost. On one hand, Si Kongchen was unable to track her, and on the other hand, he couldn't do anything about the base. His heart was already tense. Now that he was being ridiculed by her so blatantly, Si Kongchen's mentality had already exploded. However, when he rushed to the explosion site, he only saw a collapsed building and a mess. The woman's aura had disappeared. She disappeared again. The things being researched in this trading research base were all prepared for a new type of weapon that he had bought from abroad at a great cost. Moreover, he had also bought a part of the technology. This base had always been very confidential. He didn't expect this woman to know about this place. Other than Professor Bai's secret base, this place was completely Si Kongchen's own trump card. This was the result of his hard work. He had used so many resources and sent a large number of people to bring it back from abroad. Looking at the scene in front of him, Si Kongchen felt a suffocating pain in his chest. He almost vomited blood. After he couldn't bear it anymore, he suddenly waved his hand. A huge purplish-red fireball was pulled down from the sky and directly smashed on the ruins. Bang! Boom boom! After blasting the big fireball, Si Kongchen turned his head and stared angrily at the direction of the base. On the other side, Lin Xiao, who hadn't gone far, looked back at the explosion of flames behind her. Her lips curled up, and she turned her head and fluttered her long hair as she floated away. I can't beat you to death, but I can't anger you to death. The poisonous energy fog was getting further and further away. At this time, there was a vibration coming from the hole that Lin Xiao and the others went into the underground space. Moreover, the ground was also collapsing bit by bit, and dust was flying everywhere. Hua hua boom boom. The vibration was getting more and more intense, and not long after, the entire hole collapsed. Cough! At this time, a few figures crawled out of the collapsed hole in a sorry state. Hurry back and report the situation. Xiadong turned back and frowned at the hole behind him. Then he turned around and said as he flashed away with his people. When Xiadong and Lin Xiao rushed back, Haicheng's Wuxia also left Haicheng. Most of the survivors in Haicheng also received the news that the base was a zombie base. Everyone expressed their disbelief. At this time, the strongest leader of their base left and went to the zombie base. That base actually raised zombies. I can't believe it. Pay attention to your words. Those zombies are living there freely. Also, that base was originally built by them. Humans are the outsiders of that base. Zhou Shihui sat in the main seat of the conference hall and looked expressionlessly at the officer who spoke. There was also a tall man sitting in the guest seat next to him. He sat expressionlessly. He was wearing a black leader's military uniform, and his eyes were covered under the brim of the hat. Behind him stood a cute young girl with a round face and an expressionless man. Because Wu Qingyue and Xiao Yunlong had already left, they could only leave one of the three leaders, Zhou Shihui, to preside over the overall situation. Hearing Zhou Shihui say such words so calmly, the people below all looked at him in surprise. Leader Zhou, you already knew their identity? Zhou Shihui nodded. Why? They are zombies. Why do we have to cooperate with them? Is it just because of Leader Wu's personal feelings? They felt that cooperating with the base was definitely because of Wu Qingyue and Lin Xiao's personal relationship. It was not wrong to say that, after all, it was impossible to say that there was no selfishness. There may not have been any at the beginning, but it gradually grew. If it wasn't for Leader Wu's selfishness, a group of people in our base would have already starved to death. Do you have any objections? Don't forget that the food you are eating now is delivered by them every week. Zhou Shihui coldly glanced at them. Chapter 1433. Zhou Shihui's words made everyone instantly silent. When it came to food and clothing, they really couldn't be impulsive. But they are zombies. They have eaten so many humans. We are already in an irreconcilable position. Even if we cooperate with them rationally, it is really hard to accept emotionally. But someone still had a face of resistance. So are you willing to work like a cow or a horse for Wuxia and attach yourself to them? The base is full of zombies, but they at least treat us as equals. Zhou Shihui glanced at that person. Now the only bases that could obtain food were the base and Wuxia. With such a large population in High City, it was already very difficult to maintain without their own planting base. If it wasn't for the large amount of planting output at the base, a large number of people in High City would starve to death every day. They are zombies, but ever since they joined that base, none of them have attacked humans. And every vegetable leaf you eat now, the first grain of rice, were all grown by these zombies. As the saying goes, don't forget the person who dug the well when you drink water. This kind of gratitude has long been rare. It was definitely impossible to ask them to be grateful. They could only let them know that without these zombies, they would have no food to eat. Then why don't we rent their land and cultivate it ourselves? Or we can trade their land purification technology with them. Someone weakly changed the direction and said, in the end, don't we still have to rely on others? So you want to learn someone else's technique, and then turn around and change your attitude right away? I can only tell you, there is no technology, because it doesn't require any technology. Instead, it requires something that only their leader would have. Zhou Shihui had already guessed their thoughts. After knowing that there were a large number of zombies in the base, they all instinctively rejected it. This was also a normal phenomenon. No one would accept it at first. But now the situation is like this. They have a secret weapon, but you don't. Even if you want to snatch it, you might not be able to catch up with them in terms of force. After all, the whole world is now filled with zombies. So even if you can't accept it, you still have to be rational. Is that woman so important? Leader Wu actually left just like that. This base was built by himself. And Xiao Yunlong, Xiao Liqing and the others, don't they have any feelings? Regarding the matter of the zombie base, they really didn't want to think about it, so they could only change the topic. Everyone was still very dissatisfied with Wu Qingyue's departure. After all, without the suppression of a powerful martial expert, this base would have an additional crisis. None of you are his wife and children. Of course, you are not as important as his wife and children. Zhou Shihui was too lazy to explain. Everyone. They really couldn't answer this question. After all, Wu Qingyue was not a heroic person, but he had invited an expert here before he left. This was his last instruction before he left. After the meeting, Zhou Shihui received news that a group of people had come out of the Universal Base and joined Sea City. He had also guessed this. After all, if it wasn't for some special reason, he wouldn't have been able to do so. Most people wouldn't be able to accept living with zombies. Therefore, after the secret of the universal base was announced, this kind of situation was already expected. But what surprised him was that the number of people who came out was less than he had expected. Most of them were willing to stay there. Looks like these people haven't lost their minds. Between asking a tiger for food and sitting back and waiting for death, I chose the former. Zhou Shihui said. The deputy leader beside him was an old man with white hair. He was very healthy and in good spirits. The old man pushed up his glasses and said, "After all, the biggest problem in the apocalypse is not zombies, not mutated beasts, not those underground beasts or China. It's a problem of eating. The world is big, but eating is the most important." It was also because of this reason that although the cadres of Sea City were very reluctant, they had to compromise. After knowing that the purification of the universal base only needed one person, and that person was the leader of the base, they knew that unless the other party was willing to cooperate, they wouldn't be able to get it no matter how hard they tried. After all, that woman was also a level 8 psychic, and there were a large number of level 2 and level 1 king zombies around her. Maybe there was even the existence of the zombie emperor that hadn't been revealed. Thinking of these level 1 and level 2 king zombies appearing outside the base and gathering a large number of zombies like a plague of locusts, that was really a terrifying scene. At this time, Wu Qingyue brought Xiao Yunlong and his group of old brothers to the universal base. Only then did he know that his son had the terrifying ability to expel the underground beasts. "You actually have this ability? Really worthy of being my son. Come give daddy a kiss." Wu Qingyue smiled and hugged little Tung Tung. Tung Ting coldly rolled his eyes and said, "I have a lot of abilities. I just won't tell you. Besides, it has nothing to do with you that I'm so powerful. It's because of my mama and my own innate ability." Seeing Wu Qingyue come over, Wu Yueling was the happiest one. Her temperament was like a normal child. Although her dependence on Wu Qingyue was divided by Lin Xiao and little Tung Tung, the person she was most familiar with was still her father, Wu Qingyue. So every time she saw Wu Qingyue, she would be very happy. But her expression of happiness was just sitting at the side and watching Wu Qingyue and little Tung Tung interact with a slight smile. Mama should be back soon. Next, you two should think of a way to deal with the poisonous energy mist outside. It won't be good for Uncle and Aunt if it spreads to our base. Little Tung Tung sat on Wu Qingyue's lap and said with a serious face, "And besides this poisonous energy mist to deal with, there was still the big trouble underground to deal with. Oh right, he probably had to get rid of that something Chun in the Wuxia base, who always went against his father's mama." Looking at his little face thinking, Wu Qingyue smiled and patted his head. "Don't think about this. With me and your mama here, it's not your turn to worry. You're still young." Little Tung Tung looked up at him and thought that was true. He nodded. Oh, whose child would be thinking about this kind of problem that only everyone could deal with when he was only a few months old? And it wasn't a big problem that ordinary people could deal with. So when Lin Xiao came back, the first thing he did was to call for a meeting. In the end, when he saw Wu Qingyue running in to listen in, he couldn't help but ask him strangely, "That's strange. Shouldn't you be in Haiqing now?" Wu Qingyue spread his hands. "Haiqing has nothing to do with me anymore. I'm yours from now on." Lin Xiao. Everyone present. Who's going to take this light bulb away? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.